Oh, I want my phone so I have results.
Yeah, we got about 1 minute, you think? Okay. We're live now, right? So we can go ahead and roll at any time because I see it live on Facebook. Okay.
I got holding screen. Once you guys go live with your nights, we'll hear you. We'll cut to you.
All right.
Whenever you're ready.
And good afternoon and welcome back to Grand Rapids, Michigan and Calvin University for session 2 of the track events at the 69th edition of the Hartford Nationals conducted by Move United. This afternoon we've got another stacked lineup for you of the 60 meter, the 800 and the 200. My name is Peyton Gunnarsson alongside four-time Paralympian Amanda McRory.
We are here with the first heat of the girls U11 60-meter dash in lane 2, Natalie Carroll. Lane 3, Breland Blaschke. Lane 4, Elizabeth Littlewise. Mackenzie Treat in 5, Aisla Lalia in 6, and Ava Johnson in 7. So fast, I hardly got through their names before they finished the race. Our next heat that we will have coming up right after this will be another group of that U11 age division, but mixed classifications.
So heat 2 coming up here is going to be Scarlett Cowley in lane number 1. She's a T72 athlete who comes in with a seed time of 35 seconds. In lane number 3 is going to be Violet Worthen, a T71 athlete who comes in with a seed time of 28:44. In lane number 5 is Stella Anima, a T54 athlete who comes in with a seed time of 23.11. In lane number 6 is Karina Valdez, a T34 athlete who comes in with a time of 27:74. And rounding out the field in the second heat is Kinsley Lacey in lane 7, a T54 athlete who comes in with a time of 21:47.
And looking at the track now, it looks like the third, fourth, and fifth athletes may have been moved to another heat. This is Scarlett Cowley in lane 1 and Violet Worthen in lane 3. And they are taking off. We saw Violet Worthen earlier in the 400 meters, the youngest athlete to do the full 400. And she is back here again, only 8 years old, representing the T71 class for frame runners. This is Scarlett Cowley in lane 1, off to an early lead here, coming up close to that finish line. But Violet Worthen picking up some speed and chasing her down. But they are coming up close to the line now, and it is going to be Scarlett Cowley across the line first, Violet Worthen across the line second. Both of these athletes in the U11 age division, but different classifications. So racing with each other on the track, but against themselves for time. And that is 2 gold medals for 2 of our youngest athletes competing here today. And this will be the second of 3 groupings of the girls U11 60-meter event, with Ellen Trainer in lane 2, Carissa Manarung in lane 3, Penelope Webster in 4, Samaya Khalid in 5, Kinsley Lacey in 6, Stella Anima in 7, and Karina Valdez in 8. All of these athletes wheelchair racers in different classifications, but representing the U11 age group. Athletes all getting set on the start line, waiting for the gun. It's fun to see athletes get started in new events. Stella Anima has been coming for years as a swimmer, and this is her first year competing in the track events. She is in lane 7, but taking off here in the center, that is an early lead from Penelope Webster. Very close behind is Samaya Khalid, and Kinsley Lacey too close to call for second and third across the line. And that is Penelope Webster at 16:87 across the line first. Samaya Khalid 17:48 second. And just 0.1 seconds behind, Kinsley Lacey in third. Carissa Manarong across the line fourth in 1963. Stella Anima in sixth. Ellen Trainer crossing in seventh. Once again, mixed group of classifications here for this third section of girls U11 60-meter dashes. Moving on next to the first of 3 heats of boys.
In lane 3 is Theo Gardner, a T37 athlete with a time of 17:83. In lane number 4 is Callum Zauner, a T38 athlete, coming in with a seed time of 13:28. In lane number 5 is Harris Krug, a T38 athlete from the Bennett Blazers. He comes in with a time of 11:97. In lane 6 is Ward Goldsmith, a T37 athlete, who comes in with a time of 14:03. And rounding out the field in lane 7 is John White, a T36 athlete, who comes in with a time of 15:56.
Once again, all of these athletes are in the U11 age group. This is the 60-meter dash, and this is a mixed classification group, so all of the athletes here are ambulatory in the 30s category, and it is a mix between athletes racing in the 36, 37, and 38 classifications. So 3 different gold medals on the line in this event for the boys' U11 60-meter dash. We have a couple more heats of the 60-meter dash coming up after that, and then we have an action-packed evening. Moving on to the 800-meter runs, and then finally finishing out the evening with the 200s. But back on to the track in lane 5, Harris Krug coming in with the fastest seed time for this group at 11:97 over 60 meters. And the gun is off, and so are the athletes. That is Caleb Zauner in lane 5, but out in lane 6, Ward Goldsmith across the line first, followed by Caleb Zauner in lane 4. And it looked like John White in lane 7. Ward Goldsmith in first, 12:47. John White in second at 13:27. And Caleb Zauner, 1/100th of a second behind him at 13:28. So close across the finish.
So heat number 2 of the boys 10 and under 60-meter dash. In lane number 3 is Amarius Jones from Great Lakes Adaptive Sports. In lane 5 is Andy Backner from Courage Kenny Blizzards. And in lane 7 is going to be River Miller from Dasa Dynamites.
Once again, a mixed classification event here, so all of the athletes are around the same age, but racing against themselves and the clock for the gold medal. Amarius Jones in the T40 classification, that is athletes of short stature. Andy Backner in the T64 category for athletes running with a lower limb prosthetic. And River Miller, T91, one of those Move United exclusive classifications for athletes not eligible in the Paralympic program. And this is Andy Backner, first across the line in lane 5, followed closely by Amarius Jones in lane 3. Andy Backner coming across at 11:56. Amarius Jones at 12.96, and River Miller at 21 flat, representing the DASA Dynamites from St. Louis, Missouri. One more group of boys before we jump back to the girls for one final heat of the 60-meter dash.
In lane number 3 is going to be Callan Moe from the Glassa team. He is a T53 athlete and comes in with a 19.27. In lane number 4 is his teammate, a T54 athlete, Jensen Russo, who comes in with an 18.84. And in lane 5 is William Peltier, a T34 athlete from Texas Parasport, who comes in with an 18.64.
Gun is off, and they are still pretty tight together. Little bit of slipping there from Jensen Russo in the center, struggling to keep his chair under control, but it doesn't matter. Oh, this is so tight, and that is going to be at the line. William Peltier coming out for that sprint finish. Jensen Russo coming across in second. Callan Moe in third, but all three of these athletes representing different classifications in their age group. So that is 3 gold medals, national championships, 1 apiece for Callan, Jensen, and William.
Moving back over to the girls U14 60-meter dash. Again, mixed classification here. In lane number 3 is Divya Harkama, a T33 athlete from Grit Adaptive Sports. She comes in with a time of 22.77. In lane number 5 is Mason Kronmuller, a T38 athlete from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. She comes in with a time of 11.59. And in lane 6 is Eliza Cole, a T37 athlete from Bennett Blazers, and she comes in with a time of 11.38.
Another mixed classification grouping here. Divya Harkama in the T33 classification. She's in the inside of the track, the only athlete using a racing wheelchair. Mason Kronmuller in the middle, T38, and Eliza Cole, who is a T37. So 3 athletes, 3 classification, 3 gold medals on the line in this event. They are off now, and this is neck and neck between Mason and Eliza. Mason with the early lead, but it is going to be Eliza Cole first across the line here in this girls U14 60-meter dash. Eliza Cole at 11.07, Mason Kronmuller at 11.18, and in lane 3, Divya Harkama coming across third overall at 23.41. We have one more heat of the 60-meter dash before moving on to our first heat of many 800-meter runs.
Yeah, this is going to be the boys U14 60-meter dash. And we also have a couple, one 17-year-old. And it's going to be in lane 3, Mikhail Katunkin. He is a T40 athlete. He'll be in lane 3. In lane 4 is Landon Healy. He's a T36 athlete. He comes in with a time of 11.62. In lane 5 is Charlie Steffens. He is a T37 athlete from DASA. He'll come in with a time of 14.55. And lane 7 is Theodore Schaefer, a T33 athlete, with a time of 26.80.
And that is the gun, and they are off. Mikhail Katunkin in the inside lane, off to an early lead. Landon Healy attempting to chase him down, but Mikhail is too fast. Mikhail Katunkin first across the line. Landon Healy crossing second. Mikhail with a finishing time of 10.33. Landon Healy at 11.22. Charlie Steffens at 13.25. And the only athlete using a racing chair in this heat, Theodore Schaefer, coming across the line, fourth overall, first in his division, 30.33. That will conclude the 60-meter event for this evening, and we are moving on over to the 800-meter event. We're going to kick it off with the U14 girls.
So we'll have 2 heats of the girls U14 division. Heat number 1 will be an all T54 heat. In lane number 1 is Emma Six from DASA. In lane number 2 is Evelyn Grace Williams from Louisville Lightning. In lane number 3 is Alexa Landers from the Bennett Blazers. In lane 4 is Claire Lachaume from the Rochester Rookies. In lane 5 is Dakota Nesbitt from the Bennett Blazers. In lane 6 is Eliza Wilder from the Lakeshore Foundation. In lane 7 is Penelope Webster from the Bennett Blazers.
So all of these athletes, same age group, same classification. That will be 7 athletes racing for 3 medals, a gold, silver, and bronze in this event. So first across the line will be your national champion for 2026 at the Hartford Nationals in the girls under 14 T54 800-meter event.
And Claire Lachaume in lane number 4 comes in with the fastest seed time of 2:21, followed by Alexa Landers in lane 3. She will come in with a seed time of 3:19. And in lane number 5 is Dakota Nesbitt. She'll come in with the third fastest seed time of 3:28.
So unlike the 1500-meter event, where athletes are allowed to cross into lane 1 as soon as it's clear inside of them, there are some additional rules in the 800-meter event. Can you walk the viewers through what happens in an 800, Peyton?
Yeah, so you'll see on the 800, we're starting on the curve here, and the athletes will have to stay in their lane through this first curve, and then they will get to the cut line once they get to the back straightaway. And once they get there is when they can cut into lane 1, and then from there you can stay in lane 1, but you can't cut inside.
So taking off pretty quickly here. As Peyton mentioned, Claire Lachaume in lane 4 coming in with the fastest seat time, already making up that stagger. Off to an early lead, will likely be the first one to that break line on the other side of the track. You can see it just past the turn. There are 2 cones and an official there checking to make sure that everyone is fully across the line before they break in. And that is Claire Lachaume in the lead here, cutting into lane 1 and continuing to pull away from the pack. Big group of athletes still chasing behind Claire, but she is already off into that second turn about halfway through. The 800-meter race is 2 laps around the track. That first turn in your lane, the next 700 meters can be raced in lane 1. And this is Claire Lachaume against herself right now. It looks like it's going to be a race for second place behind Claire. We'll hear the bell in just a moment, denoting that Claire has 1 lap to go. And this is the last lap, halfway down the race for Claire Lachaume, our leader in this girls' T54 800-meter event. So for the 800, the strategy is a little bit different than what we have seen so far in the 400 as well as the 1500. If you were running an 800 today, Peyton, how would you set up your race?
Well, as a sprinter myself, I would go all out and just do what I can to sprint as much as I can until I die. That's
the sprinter mindset for sure.
That's the sprinter mindset, is just go out until you die.
Claire Lachaume taking a really aggressive move here by being the first one out and then continuing to hold that lead. Coming in around the curve here. Claire with her head up, making sure. Looks like there's been a little bit of a problem here in lane 1. Someone went over the inside rail and got stuck, but Claire Lachaume head up, paying attention to what's going on, which is very important because that could have been a crash. And Claire will be the first one across the line here at 2:20.14, the 2026 champion at the Hartford Nationals in the girls U14 T54 division. Coming across the line here second, waiting to see who that was. We have our first 2 finishers. Dakota Nesbitt coming up to the finish line now with a really, really strong finish. Alexa Landers here, chasing into the finish. Looking really strong. And the rest of the athletes coming in across. Claire Lachaume coming in with a seat time of 2:21:30, crossing the line here at 2:20:14, so that's an improvement on her season best. Dakota Nesbitt at 2:58:78 for her official finishing time, and Alexa Landers at 3:14:90. Eliza Wilder in fourth with 3:30:02. A tight finish between Eliza and Emma Six. Emma Six crossing in fifth at 30:30:75. And Penelope Webster at 3:42:75. So your podium in this event: gold to Claire Lachaume, silver to Dakota Nesbitt, and bronze to Alexa Landers. Evelyn Grace Williams got unstuck from the inside of the track and coming through now. For a finishing time of 4:16:69.
Moving on to the second heat of the girls U14 800s. This will be a mixed classification heat. In lane number 3 is Joanna Uten from Texas Parasport. She is a T36 athlete and comes in with a time of 5:48. In lane number 4 will be Eliza Cole. She is a T37 athlete from the Bennett Blazers. She comes in with a time of 4:14. In lane number 5 is Mason Kronmuller, a T38 athlete from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. She comes in with a C time of 4:04. And in lane 6 is Lydia Higgs, a T37 athlete from Texas Parasport. She'll come in with a time of 2:41.
And we will be heading back out to the track shortly to see this second heat of the girls under 14 800 meter event. All of the athletes in this second heat will be ambulatory athletes, so no racing chairs for this one, and a mix of classifications, so quite a few gold medals on the line here for this group.
Yeah, for sure. Only one T36 athlete and one T38 athlete, so those two already have gold medals locked up as long as they don't disqualify in this race.
And it is easier to disqualify in the 800 than some of the other events, particularly because of that break line. You have to not only make sure you are fully across the line, but also be watching and keeping your head up around you to make sure you're not impeding on anyone when you cross in as well.
Yes, yeah, you can only cut in if you're safely in front of the other athletes. And then also, you can also DQ if you touch the inside of lane 1, which is a big issue for a lot of racers that you see happen. It's very common.
And we are heading back out to the track now. Athletes are making their way over to the start line. You'll also notice for the 800 meter events, unlike the 400 we saw earlier today, it is only a 2-command start. So athletes get on your mark and freeze and then the gun. There is no set in between. That's characteristic of all of the races that allow you to leave your lane at some point during the race. So shorter races, 100, 200, 400, have a 3-command start. The 800 meter and up all the way to the 5,000, and at some events, the 10,000 meter race, are a 2-command on your mark and then the gun. All of the athletes in this heat are in the 30s category. 30s have an impairment that affects their balance and coordination, which can affect their running stride. Everyone lining up now. Again, that's Joanna Uten in 3, Eliza Cole in 4, Mason Kronmuller in 5, and Lydia Higgs in 6. Lydia Higgs coming in with the fastest seed time here at 2:41:50, and they are off. That is Lydia Higgs coming out around the first turn. She will be first to the brake line. Mason Kronmuller and Eliza Cole pretty close together here in 4 and 5, coming in and breaking in together, followed not far behind by Joanna Uten. This is a 2-lap race. It will be half a mile long, or 800 meters, and this is Considered middle distance, to me, it always felt like a very, very long sprint.
It definitely is a very, very long sprint.
Athletes here representing quite a few of the programs that we have seen so far. Texas Parasport for Joanna and Lydia, the Bennett Blazers for Eliza Cole, and the Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. All of these programs offering multi-sport opportunities for athletes with disabilities, and some of them, like Texas Parasport, led by former Paralympians. And we talked a little bit earlier about the importance of having good role models and good coaching, especially early in your career.
Yes, for sure. I've had a few coaches in my career. I competed for the University of Arizona in my college career, and in those 4 years I had 3 different coaches, and I definitely noticed the effect that it had on my training and ability to stay at the top of my game, being switched between those three coaches in that short amount of time.
Consistency is definitely so important, especially when you are trying to train at the highest level. Just knowing that you have a coach that you have built a relationship with who knows you as well is really important.
Yeah, that is very key, which is why you see a lot of these programs like Texas and Glassett doing so well, is because they have coaches that have been there for a while.
So many coaches. We are going to hear from Amy Day, who is one of the coaches for the Glassett program, also a Paralympian. She's coming to visit us in just a little bit, and we can talk a little bit about her coaching strategy when she comes through. But Lydia Higgs, our leader in this event, coming into her final turn now, less than 200 meters to go in this 800-meter event for Lydia Higgs. Her seed time, season best coming in, is 2:41.50, and we will have to see if she's able to better that time here today. The wind has certainly picked up this afternoon, but we are still seeing some pretty fast times and some PRs already out on the track. And Lydia Higgs, with less than 100 meters to go, still looking really relaxed, wearing the 4 on her chest. That was Joanna Uton. Lydia Higgs now crossing the line. She will be the first place finisher in the T37 classification and first place finisher overall in this girls U14 ambulatory 800-meter race. This wearing the 5 is Mason Kronmuller in second place right now. The challenge with the 800-meter, even more than the 400, is staying loose and not tightening up and fighting through all of that lactic acid buildup that you start to feel. Legs are burning, arms are burning. When does that set in for you, Peyton?
For me, it sets in around 400 meters, 400, 500 meters. That's mainly because I'm a sprinter, so my endurance is not the greatest. But for most athletes, it's about the same, 400, 500 meters. So that last 300 meters is usually the toughest part of the race.
And the only way through it is to keep pushing.
The only way through it is to get through it.
That's good advice for everybody out here. Coming in second place overall, that is Eliza Cole. She is the second representative from that T37 classification, so that will be a silver medal for Eliza Cole at 4:04.08. Third right now, this is Mason Kronmuller with that final sprint. You can see her picking up the pace, picking up that leg turnover a little bit with a final sprint into the line. Mason Kronmuller crossing third. She is the only T38 athlete racing in this age group, and so that will be an automatic gold medal for Mason Kronmuller. Finishing time at 4:30.31. And Joanna Uton will be our next one across. She is in her final lap right now, staying strong and just getting to the finish line.
Yeah, that's honestly all you're thinking about when you're out here racing this distance, is just getting to the finish line.
Waiting to see Joanna come up on our screen, but she is into that final 100 meters. You will see her come onto the screen soon, and this is all about powering through, fighting all of that lactic acid, all of that tightening up, just trying to get in to the finish. But Joanna Uton, the only T36 athlete in this event. This will be a gold medal and a national championship for 13-year-old Joanna Uten out of Texas Parasports. Coming up to the line now, and that is Joanna Uten crossing 4th overall, first in her division of this girls under 14 800-meter event. We are jumping back over to the boys next.
For the U14 age group in heat number 1, this is an all T54 final. In lane number 2 is Devin Harrigan from Texas Parasport. He comes in with a time of 3:34. In lane number 3 is Brandon Binkley from Grit. He comes in with a time of 3:17. In lane number 4 is Noah Fansler. He comes in with a time of 2:33. He's from Blaze Sport. And in lane number 5 is Braden Froning from Parasport Spokane. He comes in with a time of 3:30.
Michigan Grit being one of the newer programs here this year, just recently established over on the eastern side of the state, but they have quite a strong showing for athletes competing pretty close to home in Michigan. We are here at the Gainey Athletic Complex at beautiful Calvin University. Peyton Gunnarsson and I, Amanda McGrory, will be with you throughout this evening session, and we'll be back again tomorrow morning to wrap things up with a few more events. But we are on to our second event of the evening. We started with the 60-meter races, and we are well on our way through the 800-meter events. Who do you have your eye on for this one, Peyton?
I'm watching Noah Fansler in lane number 4. We saw him this morning in the 1500. He comes in with a time of 2:33, so he's looking about 40 seconds ahead of everybody else in terms of their seed times.
Coming in with a very fast seed time for Noah Fansler, but we have seen some pretty massive PRs already today, so you never know what can happen at national championships. Sometimes just having somebody in front of you to chase is all you need to take off.
We have seen lots of PRs, lots of surprises too, so anything could happen in this race.
And this race is off. That is Noah Fansler in lane 4, off to an early lead here, already making up the stagger on the outside and settling into his stroke really well. And Peyton, here we get a really good look at Noah and his stroke and the way his hands are connecting with his rings. Can you talk a little bit about how you move a racing chair, because it looks so different than anything else?
Yeah, so you'll see they have what we call push rims. So they're using a rubber glove or a plastic glove with a flat rubber surface, and they're hitting the push rim with that and flexing their wrists, and then they're coming off of the rim at the bottom and flicking their wrists to generate the power and then come up and then power down through the rims again.
Noah in the lead, coming through the second turn, so 300 meters into this 800-meter race, and he is all alone out here on the track. So for Noah, this is going to be a race against himself. It's all about maintaining that pace now and making sure that he didn't go out too hard and has enough to get all the way through to the finish.
Yeah, this is definitely when this race becomes a mental game. When you're all out there by yourself, you got to keep that pace up and not let the guys behind you catch you.
Well, we are so excited to be joined by our first guest of this session, 2000 Paralympian and coach for the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association, Amy Day. Amy, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm going to let you kick it off with a couple of questions for Amy Peyton as we watch our finishers come through for this boys U14 T54 800-meter race.
Yeah, so Amy, I know you're the coach of the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Program. I've seen a lot of great athlete performances from you guys this morning, and already today, this afternoon. What's kind of advice do you have for those younger athletes? You've coached everybody from younger athletes to older. What's your advice to the younger athletes who are maybe just starting? What's something they should focus on in these early stages of training?
You know, that is a good question. It's changed over the years, what I would have said. I think today I would say just keep pushing, right? Just get out there, make sure you're having fun. Don't worry so much about form with the little kids. Just let them get out there and push those chairs.
Yeah. So we mentioned that you were a 2000 Paralympian. What's been the most rewarding part for you transitioning from athlete to coach?
I think being a part of the process that helps change other people's lives and watching them grow and mature and what they do when they step away from sport, right? That's really neat for me to see.
Back to the racing for just a moment. Noah Fansler first across the line for this boys T54 U14 800 meter event, and he will be our 2026 national champion with a time of 2:35.71. And Amy, back to you for just a minute. You got your start racing back in the day when this was still called Junior Nationals. How does it feel to be back here after so many years, and how has the event changed in that time?
Well, I've been coming back for a while now. It has changed dramatically, and from my perspective, the amount of athletes that show up, I think, has increased a lot, and just the more seriousness of it. You know, we really make sure that there's qualifying times to get here. I know there always were, but those seem to be right up to date, and I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. It is a very professional event. And as Amy mentioned, every athlete that is out here racing has qualified to be here. So they had to go to a regional event. And Glasso puts on a great regional event every year for athletes to qualify for Move United Nationals. So Peyton and I have mentioned it a couple times. But can you tell us what the qualification process looks like? How do athletes get here to compete?
That is a loaded question, Amanda. So like you said, you do have to go to a regional meet, and you have to make a time depending for each distance, depending on your age and your classification. So if it was a T54 7-year-old and a T54 20-year-old, they would not have the same time, but they could both do this same distance.
So that is why we see so many athletes across different classifications racing for so many medals, because there are so many different age groups and so many classifications. But the coolest thing here is that gives so many people an opportunity to compete, and to compete against people in their age group with a disability that affects them in a similar way.
Yeah, I really think that's important, because it gives the kids the courage to come out, because they know they're not going to have to compete against a 15-year-old when they're 7. And they get more excited about that, to see kind of how they are competing against all the other kids in the same age group across the country.
For anyone who is maybe thinking about getting involved in adaptive sport, either as an athlete, as a coach, what's your recommendation for them? Just do it?
Yeah, just do it.
Where should they look for resources? What should they do?
You know, the internet is amazing now. That we didn't have that tool when I was competing, and literally just type adaptive sports in whatever city that you're in, and I think something should pop up.
And there are so many opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Glasso, we talked a lot about all of these different multi-sport organizations that don't just do track and field, but have athletes that have swimming programs. And how many sports does the Glasso Adaptive Sports Association manage? It's multiple teams, right?
Yeah, I think I really stick to track and field, that's it. But I think we have 20 different sports, from pickleball to swimming to air rifle to archery. I mean, really anything you're curious about, you can try.
So if you're in the Chicago or southern Wisconsin area, take a look at Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association. Come out if you want to be an athlete, if you want to volunteer, if you're just interested in getting involved and learning more. Thanks so much for joining us, Amy. We appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
All right, moving into heat number 2 of our boys U14 800 meters. We have 2 athletes in this heat. In lane number 2 is Landon Healy, a T36 athlete from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. He's going to come into this with a seed time of 3:17.70. And in lane number 3 is Thomas Zaborowski, a T35 athlete. He's going to come in with a time of 4:59.
So 2 athletes in this event, 2 gold medals on the line. This is Landon Healy coming into the final straight for the first time. Athletes will cross the finish line twice in this 800 meter event. That bell is your signal that there is 1 lap to go, and it's a good signal for the athletes as well. The 800, not quite as hard to count laps. When you get into some of the longer events, a 1500, a 5000, which is 12 and a half laps around the track, hearing that bell is sometimes a very welcome reminder of where you are.
That bell is your savior for sure.
And Peyton, you mentioned earlier that the bell for you in a 1500 is the signal that is time to start your sprint.
Yes, the 1500 for me, I try to stick into the draft a little bit for the first couple laps. Then the 400 the last 400 last lap. As soon as I hear that bell, I'm going 100% all out for that last 400.
This is Thomas Zaborski on the screen right now, running in the T35 category as a representative of the Oklahoma Youth Program, coming across now for his final lap. So both athletes with less than 400 meters to go, halfway through this 800-meter event. Back to Landon Healy, looking very strong and comfortable here, trying to stay loose as he comes into the turn. And Landon Healy with a 3:17.70 seed time. Less than 200 meters for Landon to go. Well on his way to becoming the 2026 national champion in his division for the 800-meter event. Landon coming in, and you can see his turnover picking up that final sprint, ready to go. We still have a tailwind coming into the finish, so that's great. It's that little extra push sometimes that you need when you are feeling so tight and so tired. And for Landon being out there on his own, just two athletes, but he took off really hard from the start, and there hasn't been anyone in sight for him. If you're out on your own on the track, how do you keep yourself focused, Peyton?
At that point, you're just racing for time. So if I'm on my own, I'm trying to push for a PR because I know that I went out fast, and I'm not going to let that stop me. So might as well go for a PR at that point.
And we are going to have our second guest of this afternoon session join us in just a minute. This is Paralympic gold medalist Daniel Romanchuk and founder of Wheels for Change, which we will talk a little bit more about in just a moment. But this is Thomas Zaborski coming into his final finishing stretch here. 100 meters to go for 11-year-old Thomas Zaborski, racing as the only entrant in the T35 classification in his age group. And there goes that final sprint. The crowd is cheering him home. You can see how much he has picked up the speed with the finish line finally in sight after 2 long laps around this track. 3:15.48 for Landon Healy. And Thomas Zaborski, 4:20.51. Both of those athletes going home with gold medals as national champions in their age group and classification. So excited. We have Daniel Romanchuk with us here now. I gave a quick little intro to him, but Daniel is a 2-time Paralympic gold medalist, 2-time Paralympic bronze medalist, founder of Wheels for Change, and trains with the group out of the University of Illinois, former training partners. So always love having Daniel here.
Well, it's great to be here.
You want to kick it off with a couple of questions, Peyton?
Yeah, we mentioned your organization, Wheels for Change. Tell us a little bit more about that. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so basically our goal is to change societal perception on disability through wheelchair racing. And so we have kind of 3 different branches right now. Right now we are here under kind of our knowledge hub branch, which is basically just helping distribute learning materials about the sport and some things in life in general as well. So the another branch is the Bridging Borders, which is our actually international kind of arm, and we partner with a group out of Ghana, and I've gotten to know the coach/athlete well over the past few years, and so we'll occasionally send chairs or equipment over to help support his team and grow the sport over there. And then domestically, we have our Rolling Start, which is aimed at school-age kids who want to maybe get onto their local track team. And as both of you are aware, you can't just go to your local running store and buy a pair of shoes. And so with a basic chair costing around $6,000 and potentially taking months to produce, you're out a whole season by the time you're able to get around to acquiring a chair. So we have a short-term equipment loan closet that we will kind of take their sizes, and hopefully we'll have a chair that we can get out to them so that they can just get on their team as quickly as possible.
That is fantastic. We talked a lot in the earlier session about how expensive racing chairs can be and how difficult it is to acquire one, especially if you don't know where to look or what you're doing. We're going to get back to the action for just a moment and introduce this next heat out on the track, already underway.
Yeah, we're into the boys U17 800s here, so we are going to have 5 total heats. And heat number 1 here in lane 2 was Jack Townsend, a T64 athlete. He comes in with a time of 2:29. In lane 3, this is Chase Merriweather, a T62 athlete. In lane number 5 is Grayson Adams, a T45 athlete. And in lane 6 is William Geffert. He comes in with a time of 3:02, and he is a T45 athlete as well.
All of those athletes coming in. We keep hearing the bell ringing behind us, so that means less than 1 lap to go for them. But Daniel, I want to get back to a little bit of the work you're doing with Wheels for Change and what you're doing here at the Hartford Nationals. So you have a tent, and you have some resources in your tent. So let everyone know who is watching where that is located and what they can expect to find if they go to visit you in the Wheels for Change group.
Yeah, so, as we mentioned, we have a tent where we're kind of set up, and so I'm here with two of my U of I teammates, Brian Seaman and Jason Robinson, and so we are there today just to kind of answer whatever questions people may have about the sport and about their chairs, and really, today is kind of the last day, the culmination. Over the past couple days, we've had sessions on things like starts and drafting, and also just general some life things as well.
And such a great opportunity for athletes here at Nationals to learn from one of the best and some of the best starters and drafters in the business. That was Chase Merriweather crossing the line first at 2:14.06, followed by Grayson Adams at 2:22.18. Peyton, I'm going to toss it back to you to ask Daniel a couple more questions before we let him get back over to his Wheels for Change tent over in the resource area.
All right, got a fun one for you, Daniel. So we know you're obviously a very well-traveled athlete. You travel internationally a lot. What does your travel equipment and bag look like?
What does my travel equipment? What? I'm sorry.
What does travel look like for you? How much equipment do you have? How do you carry all of that through the airport?
Some of it depends on how long it is and where, domestic, international. But I actually used to have a 4-page long checklist that could have anything that I could need for any sort of a trip, and would kind of just pare it down depending on how much I felt that I needed. But it'd be a big case for my racing chair, and then a wheel bag as well, and then just generic luggage. So certainly don't travel light most of the times.
Yeah, and you mentioned the case for your chair and the wheel bag. Those aren't cheap either.
Absolutely not. Those are, but really kind of vital pieces of equipment because you don't want to get to a destination and have a broken chair.
Right. Yeah. So we talked about this morning how much the equipment costs for a wheelchair racer, and that stuff is included in those costs as well.
Getting ready for our next heat here. This is the boys U17, second of 2 heats. We have Landon Brown in lane 1, Jackson Higgins in 2, Lincoln Beckner in 3, James Delenti in 4, Wesley Bobus in 5, Joshua Staus in 6, River Hingos in 7, and Luke Wynn in 8. And before we let you go, Daniel, I want to take just a minute to talk a little bit about the 800. This is a race that you have a lot of experience with. So can you talk us through kind of your race plan, what's going through some of these athletes' heads right now as they are getting ready for 2 very hard, very fast laps around the track?
Absolutely. So off the gun, it's usually a sprint for the first 100 or so meters to be able to get around that corner and establish your position in the draft line. And again, depending on the exact race, I might try and sprint the whole time, or try and settle into the pack a little bit, and usually by the time you just settle into the pack, the final sprint's going off, and so really really an action-packed race.
Absolutely an action-packed race. And we've talked a lot about how the 800 meter can really just be a really long sprint. So for any athletes who are thinking about maybe starting to do some longer distances, maybe an 800, maybe a 1500, do you have any tips or tricks or recommendations for them?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because you're really going from those shorter distances, and really there's a lot of the same parts of the race. You have to have a good start. Sometimes a good acceleration into that final sprint. You really listen to your coaches is the best best I have right now.
Well, Daniel, one of the best in the 800 meter event. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining us. If you are here at the Gainey Athletic Complex at Calvin University, stop by the Wheels for Change booth. You can chat with Daniel, two of his teammates, Jason Robinson and Brian Seaman will be over there as well. Brian Seaman, also a Paralympic medalist. So some pretty knowledgeable resources here at the Hartford Nationals presented by Move United. As always, fantastic to see you, Daniel, and we'll let you get back to work.
Great to see you. Thank you for having me.
This is a tight finish here. This is going to be neck and neck to the line, too close to tell. We're going to have to wait and see what comes up for finishing times for these top two finishers. Always great to have the opportunity to talk to Daniel Romanchuk. That was Jackson Higgins coming through first across the line at 3:04.19, followed very, very closely by Landon Brown of the Bennett Blazers at 3:04.39. River Hingos, third overall at 3:25.21. Wesley Bobus, 3:33.24, fourth overall here. And this is another mixed classification event, so quite a few medals on the line. Josh Stouse at 3:38.21. And this is Luke Wynn into the final stretch. Right now, less than 100 meters to go. Final kick as Luke makes his way to the finish line. And there is that final sprint. Finish line inside, over the line. James Delenti, 3:51.50. Luke Wynn, 4:15.30, and Lincoln Beckner at 4:20.69.
And moving on to Heat 3 of 5. In lane number 3, this is going to be Andrew Dolenti, a T72 athlete from the New Jersey Navigators. He's going to come in to this with a seed time of 4:48. In lane number 5, this is Rishi Apadye. He's a T33 athlete. He's going to come in with a time of 4:23. And in lane number 6, this is going to be Dylan Chalmers. He's a T33 athlete, and he is from Las Vegas. He comes into this with a seed time of 4:05.
Getting ready to move on to our third of 5 heats here for the boys U17 800 meter event. This is a lot of athletes doing the 800 meter. So great to have Amy Day and Daniel Romanchuk join us. We had some special guests earlier this morning as well, with Eli Willis and Jesse Cloy, all 4 of them Paralympians with quite a few medals between them.
Yeah, and all 4 of them great minds of the sport, great people to be connected with and get advice and tips from.
And it's so cool to come to events like this and see so many athletes, Paralympians coming, coaching programs. working for Move United, just here in different roles, ensuring that the future of adaptive sports is strong. And we have athletes here taking off. Andrew Delenti in 3, Rishi Uptahai in 5, Dylan Chalmers in 6, Jack McCoy in 7, and Verdant Mishra in 8. This is Jack Coy of Parasport Spokane off to an early lead. We talked a lot about all of those programs. We've seen a lot of the same names come up again and again, and Parasport Spokane is one of those programs that tends to really produce some incredible athletes year after year.
Yeah, you think of just a couple of the athletes that have gone through that program. Philip Croft, who we saw this morning in the 1500. Chelsea McClammer is another one.
So many Paralympians coming out of that program and then returning back to Spokane to continue working and coaching and, like we've seen so many times,
Still
ensuring the future of adaptive sport is strong. Jack Coy already coming through for 400 meters to go on to his last lap in the lead for this boys U17 mixed classification event. Whole group of athletes here together. Coming in, we have Rishi Uptahai, Dylan Chalmers, and Andrew Delenti. And Jack Coy wearing that 4 on his helmet with the distinctive green chair, looking very, very strong and comfortable for this 800-meter race. Whole group coming through here with 1 lap to go. It's going to be tight for the second and third finishers in this event. Jack Coy's first lap, 1:07.91. So moving at a pretty good speed here. We hear the bell ringing, denoting that this group of 3 athletes coming in for their last lap. And that was Jack Coy across the line, who will be the first finisher in this heat. Jack Coy coming in with a seed time of 2:08.20. Didn't better it today, 2:15.85. But Jack Coy will be your 2026 national champion in the T34 classification for the Hartford Nationals. So after we wrap up the 800s here tonight, and we still have about a dozen to go, we move into the 200s, a race that you know a little bit something about, Peyton.
I do. Unfortunately it's not a T54 event at the Paralympic level anymore, so I haven't done it too much. But this event is one of the few that still offers it. So it's a great opportunity for me to be able to come to this event and compete in that distance.
It is something great about the Hartford Nationals is that events are offered here that are not on the Paralympic program. So things get added and removed to the Paralympic program for all sorts of reasons. But the biggest one is because there is a maximum number of medal events, which means anytime something is added, whether it is a new event, a new classification, a new group, it means that something has to leave. And so something that was removed quite some time ago are the 200-meter events for the T53 and 54 wheelchair racers. So although you can compete at those at national competitions and local competitions, there is not a 200-meter medal given out for those divisions of wheelchair racers at the Paralympic Games. We have Rishi Uptahai coming through now with less than 100 meters to go, finishing really strong. A group of younger athletes here, all under the age of 17. Some of them starting to get a little bit more serious about competing in Paralympic sports, maybe looking at some college programs. And one of the great things about the Hartford Nationals is that we have a ton of representation from the adaptive college programs across the country. A lot of them have brought teams here, and those who haven't have representatives here that will be part of a collegiate showcase tomorrow evening.
Yeah, we've seen representation here on the track from the University of Arizona, University of Michigan, Illinois, Penn State.
And we have Jack Coy first overall and first in his category at 2:15.85. Rishi Uptahai coming across second overall at 4:21. Getting ready to move on to our next grouping. We are jumping up to the girls U17 800-meter event. This is going to be an ambulatory race.
Yeah, so in lane number 4, this is going to be Brooke Krauth from the Courage Kenny Blizzards. In lane number 5 is Ayla Duncan from the Louisville Lightning. And in lane number 6 is Kirsten Brunson from Texas Parasport.
All of them taking off pretty fast. Pretty close on the seed times as well. Ayla Duncan and Kirsten Brunson coming in at 3:11 and 3:27 respectively. And you can see them neck and neck right now coming into that break line around the first turn. So we will have to wait and see who is going to pull ahead. Both Ayla and Kirsten competing in that T64 categories. 60s are lower limb amputations. Those athletes all run with lower limb prosthetics. And the 64 category denotes that the athletes run with one prosthetic leg below the knee. Brooke Krauth in the T37 category, the only representative from that classification here. The 30s being a balance and coordination impairment category. Athletes in the T37 division are hemiplegic, meaning they are more strongly affected on one side of their body than the other. So you will see a little bit of asymmetry in the running stroke from athletes who run in that category. Coming around now, we still have Kirsten Brunson and Ayla Duncan coming in. And that is Ayla Duncan in the lead right now with 400 meters to go. Kirsten Brunson not far behind, still definitely within striking distance if she saved a little for that last final sprint.
Yeah, we'll find out this last 400 if she saved anything.
For Ayla Duncan, this is all about holding on to that lead. And for Kirsten Brunson, it's going to be reeling her back in. When you're in that situation with 400 meters to go, Peyton, how do you go about reeling them in? How do you go about chasing back up to the leader?
You're dropping the hammer and not holding back. You've got 400 meters for all the glory, and you're just trying to go all out and catch them.
Everything you have got. Brooke Krauth coming across now, the only athlete in the T37 category in this heat with 400 meters to go. And we will check back in on Ayla and Kirsten in just a moment to see how they are looking. And Ayla Duncan still with the lead, looking really smooth and comfortable here. She's settled into her pace really well. Coming in around the second turn right now, so under 200 meters left to go of this 800-meter race. That black section of the track is the end of the turn. So as soon as she is out of that black section and back onto the red, it is less than 100 meters to go. Picking up a little bit right now. Coming in hard to the finish. Kirsten Brunson still behind, chasing her down, but this is going to be Ayla Duncan, your 2026 national champion at the Hartford Nationals in the girls U17 T64 category.
You saw Ayla really digging deep there that last 100 meters. That's the hardest part of the race, is that last 100. After doing 700, the last 100 is the hardest 100 you've ever done.
Kirsten Brunson across the line now digging equally hard. Silver for Kirsten Brunson in this T64 classification. And Brooke Krauth coming into her final turn with 200 meters to go. We have more 800s to go. The events are set up this evening to go from youngest to oldest. So we will move on to the U20 division and then up to adults next. But still on the track is Brooke Krauth coming around, hitting the end of that final turn in this 800-meter event. All about staying steady right now and keeping true to her pace and, as you said, digging really deep for that finish. A lot of athletes will say the 800-meter race is one of the most painful races that you can do because it really is just like a long sprint.
It is. As a sprinter myself, the 800 was my least favorite sprint because it is a sprint, and it's 2 whole laps that you're sprinting.
And Brooke Krauth coming up to the finish line right now with a really, really strong finish, turning it on, stretching out her stride. Third across the line at 4:43.89, first in her T37 division for this age group.
And moving to heat number 2 of the U17 girls 800. In lane number 2, this is going to be Nolani Spicer. She is a T33, and she comes in with a time of 3:23. In lane number 3 is Abigail Harvey. She's a T54 athlete competing independently. She comes in with a 3:21. In lane number 4, this is Katie Johnson from Pikes Peak Parasport. She's a T54 and comes in with a 2:37. And in lane number 5, this is Brooklyn Gossard. We saw her this morning. She's a T54 athlete, 15-year-old from Parasport Spokane. She comes in with a time of 2:17. In lane 6 is Raylan Lemons. She's a T54 athlete and comes in with a time of 2:49. And rounding out the field in this heat is Rebecca DeGiorgio in lane 7. She is a T90 athlete and comes in with a time of 3:18.
So a little bit of a mixed classification heat here, but lanes 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all in the T54 category, racing against each other. Our one to watch is going to be Brooklyn Gossard in lane 5. We've seen her in the 400 and the 1500 already today. 2 races, 2 gold medals. And this is a strong, hard start for Brooklyn Gossard. Brooklyn will be first to the brake line. That is Raylyn Lemons to Brooklyn's outside, just behind. And Katie Johnson in lane 4 will be third to the brake line there. Raylyn checking her inside shoulder, making sure no one is there before she cuts in. An easy way to get disqualified and cause a crash, so good track awareness and safety. And Brooklyn Gossard pulling ahead here, first into that second turn and continuing to build up that gap on second and third.
You see that really smooth and pure stroke from Brooklyn. Only 15 years old, and she's already making international waves. Just competed at the Women's Para Grand Prix out in Czechia a couple weeks ago.
And it's such an incredible opportunity for young athletes to get to go to one of those Grand Prix events, because not only do they get the opportunity of traveling internationally and experiencing an international meet, they really get to size up the competition and see what the best in the world are doing and how fast they're racing.
Yeah, getting to race against the best in the world really changes the game for you and motivates you to keep pushing harder and get faster.
We have Brooklyn Gossard coming out of the third turn here, so she is well into her second lap. Chasing just behind is Katie Johnson and Raylyn Lemons working together. A little bit of drafting there, but Brooklyn Gossard still looking strong and steady. She has set a pace for herself and is doing a great job of holding true to that. Coming into that final turn now and is not slowing down at all. When we talked to Jessie Cloyd this morning, she mentioned for the finish, sometimes it's just trying not to slow down. It's trying to hold on to your speed as much as you can. And Brooklyn is doing an incredible job of keeping her stroke smooth, staying loose and relaxed. You can see she's getting a good lift off the back and a little bit of a sprint here.
Yeah, she still had more left in the tank after 700, so really great finish from Brooklyn. And good for her for not slowing down and getting complacent with being out in front.
So gold medal national champion at the Hartford Nationals. in this 800-meter event is Brooklyn Gossard, but we have a sprint for second place. This is Katie Johnson in the red chair, pulling away from Raylan Lemons in lane 1. That is Katie Johnson, silver, for the girls U17 T54 category at 2:45.94, and just behind Katie Johnson, less than a second, Raylan Lemons with the bronze. Brooklyn Gossard at 2:26.09. Katie Johnson, 2:45.97, and Raylan Lemons, 2:46.57. That is your podium, gold, silver, and bronze in this classification of the 800-meter event. We have another race here for quick sprint finish, and this is so tight. Too close to call. We're going to have to wait and see on the official results what we have for 4th and 5th across the line. Rebecca DiGiorgio, 3:15.09, first in the T90 category. Abigail Harvey at 3:30.64, and Nolani Spicer of Texas Parasport at 3:30.68. Those three athletes all in different categories and classifications, so it will be gold for Rebecca and gold for Nolani, but an exciting sprint finish nonetheless.
Yeah, those sprint finishes are always exciting no matter what place it is.
Getting ready to move on to our next event, and it is going to be the girls U20 800-meter event for the T54 category.
Yeah, so this is going to be 2 heats of timed final. In heat number 1 is Juliet Now from Parasports Spokane. She comes in with a time of 2:58. In lane 2 is Isabel Einwich. She comes in with a time of 2:53. In lane 3, this is Madeline Wilson from the New Jersey Navigators. She comes in with a time of 2:33. In lane 4 is Autumn Fott from Texas Parasport. She comes in with a time of 1:57.
Hold on just a second. We are switching, and we are moving back up to the boys.
Ooh. All right, so going back to
U17.
the boys U17. So this is going to be in lane number 1, Colton Pajeda. In lane number 2, Francis McCabe. In lane 3, Mason Berry. In lane 4, Caleb Muller. Lane 5, TJ Mosley. Lane 6, Owen Stewart. Lane 7, Asher Loera. In lane 8, Alexander Gullingsrud. 9 is Isaac Murdoch. 10, Charlie Ammett. And 11, Joshua Leidner.
There are 11 athletes in this straight final, and so we saw a different start than we have seen before. Usually 800-meter athletes start in their lane, and there is a stagger for the first 100 meters. This was a double waterfall, so athletes on the first waterfall could cut in immediately to lane 1. Athletes on the second waterfall could cut into lane 4, and then once they reached the break line, could do that second cut back into lane 1. Coming in with the fastest qualifying time here is TJ Mosley out of the Texas program. And this is TJ Mosley here in the lead, but closing in tight behind him. He's got a little bit of competition. TJ, 15 years old, a lot of sprint speed. This is a great race for him and a really, really strong start. Looking forward to seeing how this shakes out at the end. In behind TJ Mosley, this is Charlie Ament. And they are tight together right here. Charlie coming in, taking the lead. TJ Mosley got to do a little bit of work to close that gap if he wants to stay with Charlie. But Charlie is pulling away right now as they go through the third and fourth and final turn of this 800-meter race. Charlie continuing to pull ahead. TJ, you can see those high arms. He's moving out into lane 2. He's putting his move on right now. This is the final sprint. TJ Mosley trying to close that gap, but Charlie Ament pulling away. The gap continues to open up. Charlie Ament is the national champion in the boys U17 T54 800-meter race. TJ Mosley coming across the line second for a silver medal.
Very smart and tactical racing from Charlie there. We saw him sitting behind TJ for most of the race, and then with 250 meters left, he made his move and just never looked back.
Big group right now coming in third, fourth, and fifth. That is Caleb Muller at the back of the pack, up here in the front. And crossing the line now in a group of three. We will wait to see who our third finisher is, and that is going to be Mason Berry from Dreamplex Parasport out of Florida. Charlie Ament, first across the line, 2:01.84. TJ Mosley at 2:03.28. Mason Berry at 2:36.47 for gold, silver, and bronze. Just off the podium, we have Owen Stewart at 2:37.23. Caleb Muller at 2:38.24. Francis McCabe coming across sixth at 2:42.41. Alexander Gullingsrud, 2:51.92. Joshua Leidner, 2:59.03. Isaac Murdoch in ninth at 3:03.17. So exciting to see such a big group of athletes here all racing together. Asher Loera in 10th at 3:17.64, and Colton Poheda at 3:22.31, rounding out this boys U17 T54 classification. And Charlie Ament, the national champion in this classification. Moving on next, we are going to the girls U20 T54 800 meter run. We introduced them a little bit earlier. We got excited and jumped the gun here. We have some favorites in this field. I know that Peyton does. So why don't you introduce them to us?
We do. This is going to be a fast race. I got really excited. In lane number 1, this is going to be Juliet Now from Parasport Spokane. In lane 2 is going to be Isabel Einwich. In lane 3 is going to be Madeline Wilson from the New Jersey Navigators. In lane 4, this is going to be Autumn Fott from Texas Parasport. In lane 5 is going to be Adalia Borgmeyer from Rolling Thunder. In lane 6 is going to be Willow Weidenhammer from Bennett Blazers. And in lane number 7, this is going to be Renea Horvath from Dairyland Sports. In lane 8 is going to be Mary McDonald from the HSC Cruisers. And in lane 9 is going to be Mia Balela from DASA Dynamites.
Running another waterfall start here, which is not the traditional way to start the 800-meter event, but for events where there are more athletes than lanes on the track, and here we have 9 starters and only 8 lanes. The best and safest way to do that is to start on the waterfall. So with any waterfall start, whether it is being used for the 800, the 1500, the 5000, athletes can cut in as soon as it is clear to their inside. So unlike the standard rules that we discussed earlier, where athletes will start, stay in their lane, and then cut in when they reach the break line, all of the athletes in the first group of the waterfall can cut into lane 1 immediately. Athletes in this second group of the waterfall can cut in to lane 5, and they can continue into the inside of the track once they hit the traditional break line.
Yes, and it looks like we missed 3 more athletes in this heat, and number 10 is going to be Jay Coleman from Dairyland Sports. Number 11 is Julia Gonzalez from Texas Parasport, and in lane 12 is going to be Peyton Moss competing independently. So a very big heat coming up.
This is an absolutely packed heat, and for a lot of these athletes, probably more wheelchair racers than they have ever been on the track with at one time. What do you need to keep in mind when you are out on the track with this many other athletes of all different speeds?
Safety is the biggest key in this type of race like this. Just making sure that you're aware of your surroundings.
Aware of what you are doing, but also where everyone else is around you.
Yes, you want to be aware of what you're doing and what's happening in the race so you don't get caught in a big pack and stuck behind somebody.
Definitely keeping your head up, making sure it is clear before you move inside or outside to adjust lanes. But this is going to be an exciting one. Who are we watching?
I'm watching number 4, Autumn Fott from Texas Parasport. She comes in with a 157. But then also Adelia Borgmeyer, one of my old teammates from the Rolling Thunder, she comes in with a 159. So those two are going to have a really tight race.
We have watched Autumn Fott and Addie Borgmeyer battle all morning so far, going 1-2 in the 1500 and in the 400. And I'm really excited to watch the two of them battle it out again here in this 2-lap 800-meter race.
Yes, not just all morning, but the last couple of years, those two have been going back and forth. Autumn's only 17, and then Addie is 18. But they both have been racing together for a few years and have had a lot of really tight races. So it could be anyone's race in this one.
And really plays to, I'm not sure who will be stronger in this one. Addie Borgmeyer, always really strong in those long distance events. And Autumn Fott as a double amputee, her strength to weight ratio is so good. She has so much sprint speed and power. But they are taking off early. Autumn Fott and Addie Borgmeyer already breaking away in lane 1 as a group of 2. So if you had any advice for Addie in this position right now, tucked in really tight behind Autumn Fott, her biggest competition in this race, what would you tell her?
I think if she knows Autumn, she knows her competition. She's just got to sit right behind Autumn and save as much energy as she can. If Autumn asks her to take the lead, then she can do that. But otherwise, just sit behind her and save as much energy.
Drafting is definitely one of the hardest skills to master in wheelchair racing. And we had Daniel Romanchuk here talking about how he and his group have been doing some clinics this week about starting, about drafting, giving athletes an opportunity to learn how to draft. And if you look at Autumn and Addie on the screen right now, they are so close together. One wrong move, and that could cause a pretty serious crash, Peyton.
Yeah, it definitely can. And you see Addie's sitting behind her, kind of really stretching out her stroke, so she's relaxed and feeling very comfortable right now.
Smart move from Addie, and Autumn looks really relaxed here. She's not ready for her sprint yet. Addie is tucked in really tight. When do you think Addie is going to make her move?
I would make the move right here. You don't want to wait too long, because if you wait too long, you're not going to have time to pass Autumn. And it looks
and
like
here
Autumn,
she
goes right there. Quick move from Addie.
Addie Borgmeyer taking the lead here, coming into the final turn of this 800-meter race. Addie Borgmeyer and Autumn Fott leading the field, but this is a packed heat. 12 athletes starting this. Madeline Wilson, third across the line for the final lap, followed closely by Isabel Einwich and Jay Coleman. But this is a battle to the finish. Autumn Fott coming out in lane 2 right now. We saw a lead change very briefly. Addie Borgmeyer pulling ahead. Autumn Fott waiting very patiently and coming out for that final sprint at the line.
That was a very good, very smart race from Autumn. Didn't panic when Addie passed her on the backstretch there, but waited for her moment and sprinted right at the end.
Autumn Fott coming across the line at 2:09.92. She will be the national champion and take home a gold medal in this girls T54 U20 800-meter event. Crossing the line right now, that's Madeline Wilson, but Addie Borgmeyer picking up her third silver medal of the event this weekend at 2:10.95. Maddie Wilson in third, and this is a sprint for fourth and fifth. Tight to call. Willow Weidenheimer is going to take it, though, at 2:48.89 and just 1/10 of a second behind. 2:49.99. Isabel Einwich. Jay Coleman crossing in fifth, also part of that pack of 3 at 2:49.50. Mary McDonald, the only T53 athlete in this heat, crossing in 7th overall, 2:52.64. But this is going to be a gold medal for Mary McDonald, who earlier today had the honor of being named the Sports and Spokes Junior Athlete of the Year, and had a pretty cool experience where all of the former junior athletes of the year who were awarded that in past years, who were here at Nationals, were with her to pass on the honor.
Yeah, that's definitely a very big honor to be awarded, and very cool that all of the past winners were there to congratulate her.
Mia Balilla in 8th at 3:67. Juliet now crossing 9th overall at 3:03.01. Julia Gonzalez at 3:14.78. Renaya Horvath in 11th at 3:17.88. And Payson Mass crossing at 3:53.19 to round out this very packed heat of U20 girls in the 800-meter event.
Yeah, and Peyton Moss actually the only T33 athlete in that race, so she wins the gold medal there.
12 athletes, 3 gold medals, not too bad. Getting ready to move on to the boys U20 age group, and we are going to have an ambulatory classification first.
Yeah, this is going to be a mixed classification as well. In lane number 4, this is going to be Jet Penny from Blaze Sports. He is a T38 athlete. In lane 5 is Ramon Little. He is a T64 athlete from Parasport Spokane. In lane 6 is Cade Lubner. He's a T35 athlete from Glassa. And in lane 7 is Declan Barbazat from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sport, and he is a T35 athlete.
Ramon Little coming in with a seed time of 2:17.40. He is definitely going to be the one to watch here. We've seen him run the 1500 and the 400 so far. 400 meter was a little bit slower than some of the other athletes off the start, but it didn't take him long to catch up. And once he did, he dominated the rest of the race. And that is Ramon Little off to a fast start here in this boys U20 ambulatory 800-meter event. Ramon Little well into the back stretch now, slowly cutting his way across into lane 1, opening up that gap between himself and the second runner here. But this will be 3 different classifications all running together. Ramon Little, the sole representative here for the T64 category, running with 1 lower limb prosthetic. You can see that running blade on his right leg. So racing with other athletes in the heat, but really racing against himself and his own time here. So 2:17.40, Ramon Little's time to beat, his seed time coming in. And that will be the bell lap for Ramon Little. All on his own, and this is just going to be about holding steady and keeping that pace, right, Peyton?
Absolutely. When you're racing on your own, it's all about holding that pace and trying not to die.
And we have a group of 2 coming in together right now. Ramon Little running 1:08.22 for his first split. And that second group, Jet Penny from Blaze Sports at 1:24.49. Cade Lubner from Great Lakes Adaptive Sports at 1:24.80. Those 2 pretty tight together, 2 different classifications. And this will be Declan Barbazat. Bell is ringing now for his last lap. So Cade Lubner in the lead, coming ahead of Jet Penny. Jet Penny was first to cross for 1 lap to go, but Cade is turning it on for that final sprint. And Ramon Little in the final 100 meters, really power. You can see him pumping his arms, putting that power in, coming up across the finish. His time to beat is 2:17.40, and he is going to cross at 2:18.05, just off of his season best seed time coming into this event.
We were talking about staying consistent that second lap when you're running on your own, though, and he ran a 1:08 split and 1:10 for the second lap, so it was very good at staying consistent and strong for that second lap on his own.
One of the biggest challenges is getting that pacing right, especially for a race like the 800 meter, where you are going so close to your max speed for the full length of time, but still trying to make sure that you've got a little bit extra to hold on to that speed for the finish. This is Cade Lubner finishing second, followed closely behind by Jet Penny from Blaze Sports out of Atlanta, Georgia. Cade Lubner crossing at 2:51.93, and Jet Penny just behind him at 3:01.17. All 3 of those finishers representing different classifications, so that is 3 finishers and 3 gold medals. This is Declan Barbazat, also in the T35 classification, competing against Cade Lubner, who finished second overall, first in his class, and this will be a silver medal for Declan Barbazat at the Hartford Nationals, conducted by Move United here at Calvin University in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Moving on to our second of two groups of boys in the U20 age division. This will be all wheelchair racers.
Yeah, all wheelchair racers, all T54 as well. So a straight 9-lane final here. In lane number 1 is Kellen Shipman from Adaptive Sports of Ohio. In lane 2 is Hayden Compton from Hillsborough County Adaptive Sports. In lane 3 is Jeremiah Mangels from Dasa Dynamites. In lane 4 is Owen Horsley from Texas Parasport. In lane 5 is Connor Hunt. He is an independent athlete. In lane 6 is Amir Pena from Parasport Spokane. Lane 7 is John Barbeau from Dairyland Sports. Lane 8 is Joel Tapia from Children's Lightning Wheels. And in lane 9 is Luke Bowman from the University of Michigan.
This is going to be another fast one. We have 9 athletes starting here. We are going to see the same waterfall start being utilized for these athletes. And we've got some pretty fast and pretty close seat times coming in here, Peyton.
Yeah, Connor Hunt and Amir Pena in lanes 5 and 6. Connor comes in with a 157 and Amir comes in with a 159. We saw those two go head-to-head in the 1500 and the 400 this morning, so we'll see who comes out on top in this 800 here.
And then we've got another group of athletes just over that 2-minute mark who could very likely go sub-2 tonight with some competition. John Barbeau in lane 7 at 2:05, Owen Horsley in lane 4 at 2:03, and Jeremiah Mangels in lane 3 at 2:06. And that is another 800-meter waterfall start. On your mark and the gun. Because it is a waterfall start, athletes can cut in as soon as it is clear, and that looks like Connor Hunt with the early lead.
Yeah, Connor Hunt off to a really strong start.
Coming in first to the break line here. Connor Hunt looking very relaxed and comfortable. Still out in lane 4, hasn't come into the inside yet, but pulling ahead of the pack, even though he's pushing a little bit of a further distance by staying outside of lane 1.
Yeah, he still hasn't cut into lane 1. He's still out in lane 4, so we'll see if he cuts in eventually or what's going to happen.
Looking really, really relaxed here. We can see that pause at the back of his stroke, getting some really good lift and stretch off of the bottom of the ring, and now making that move to cut in, and that is a huge pack right behind Connor, attempting to reel him in. Hard to say who is there. I think it's the whole field.
That looks like everybody's there, all in that one pack chasing Connor, so we'll see if him traveling that extra distance on that one corner is going to make a difference.
Connor Hunt still looking really strong and relaxed, making a quick steering adjustment to his chair there, but really comfortable, long strokes, taking advantage of the length of his arms, getting a lot of lift off of the bottom of the ring. That's where a lot of the speed comes from in wheelchair racing.
Yeah, a lot of your speed's generated from your push and power generated down through the push rim, and then lifting it back up through the back.
John Barbeau pulling away from the pack in second, attempting to chase Connor down. But Connor is into the finish now, and that was it. Easy and smooth for Connor Hunt. First across the line. 2:01.75 for Connor Hunt, the national champion. John Barbeau crossing second at 2:11.58. He tried to close that gap and chase him down, just not quite enough speed. Amir Pena in third at 2:13.85. Jeremiah Mangels in 2:14.05. And then a whole group coming in all together. Owen Horsley in fifth at 2:16.82. Joel Tapia 2:17.07. Kellen Shipman 2:17.75. Hayden Compton at 2:18.35. And Luke Bowman, the University of Alabama, at 2:25, wrapping up this heat of 9.
So moving on to the women's 20 and up 800 meter wheelchair race. This is going to be another mixed classification race. In lane number 1 is Micaiah Green from Bridge Adaptive. She is a T53 athlete. In lane number 2, this is Sierra Andrews. She's a T54 athlete from Glassa. In lane 3, this is Bree Dahl, a T54 athlete from Glassa. In lane number 4 is Heather Seelover, a T90 athlete from Parasport Spokane. In lane number 5 is Jessica Belfi, a T34 athlete from Parasport Spokane. In lane number 6 is Esther Faith Hen, a T54 athlete from Penn State. And rounding out the field is Maria Valle in lane 7, a T34 athlete from the University of Michigan. So 2 college athletes in lanes 6 and 7 here.
A mix of classifications. And this is Heather Seelover in lane 4 of Parasport Spokane, off to the early start here. This will be 7 athletes starting the race, 4 different classifications. So 4 different gold medals on the line for this adults, women, mixed classification 800 meter race. So Heather Seelover all the way already into that second turn, opening up the gap between the rest of the pack. The rest of the pack still pretty close together. Be interesting to see where they end up. But Heather Seelover here continuing to pull ahead. And we've talked so much about the collegiate programs here with athletes coming to compete at nationals. A lot of those athletes will be competing next week at USA Track and Field Nationals, but it's such a good opportunity for athletes who are 16, 17, 18 in high school, just starting to think about what they might want to do next, and knowing that there's opportunities to compete in adaptive sports at the collegiate level is so incredible. When I went to college, there were only 2 programs that had track and field teams. And so just seeing this growth over the past couple of years has been amazing.
Yeah, it's very good. We've got representation from multiple different colleges here this week, from the University of Arizona, Illinois, Michigan, Penn State, and
University of Alabama.
Alabama's
The
here too,
Bridge
yes.
Adaptive Team has quite a few members from the University of Cincinnati on it. So we've got new programs popping up all over the place across the country. So no matter where you are, what level you want to compete at, and what your academic goals are, they're probably a good fit for you.
Yeah, for sure. And San Diego State, I know, has a really good program. They don't have any athletes out here this week that I know of, but their program is very, very good out there in San Diego.
Keeping an eye on this race, this is Heather Seelover, 1:12:43 for her first lap, coming in right now for her finish. She will be the first finisher overall, as well as the first finisher in her classification, T90. 2:20:71 for Heather. Bree Dahl from the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association also just graduated from the University of Illinois. 1:25:63 for her split, coming up to the final finish right now. Little speed across the line, and that is Bree Dahl, second overall, first for the T54 classification at 2:47:68. Jessica Belfell here. 1:29 for lap 1, crossing in third overall. And a whole group coming in together just behind Jessica. 3:07:50 unofficial finishing time for Jessica. 3:12 flat for Micaiah Green. Esther Faith Hen crossing 5th overall at 3:13:47. Maria Valle in the T34 category, crossing 5th. And moving on to the men's adult age group, mixed classification 800 meter event.
So we're going to have 3 heats of this. In heat number 1, we're going to have 2 athletes. In lane number 3, this is Casey Orndorff, a T38 athlete competing independently. He comes in with a seed time of 3:10. And in lane number 5 is Jack Cunningham, another college athlete from Penn State University. He is a T62 athlete and comes in with a time of 2:17.
Casey Orndorff in the T38 category. 30s are athletes who have impairments that affect their balance and coordination. T38, the least impaired or most mild of the 30 category. And Jack Cunningham, T62, that means Jack runs with 2 double below the knee blades. Athletes in this 62 category usually take a little while to get up to speed, but you can see he gets a lot of bounce off of those blades. And once he gets up to speed, starts stretching out that stroke, starts stretching out that stride. I'm talking wheelchair racing terms here. He can hold a really high speed for a very long period of time. Jack Cunningham with a 2:17.70 seed time here. And we are getting to the end of our 800-meter events for this evening. We have 2 more heats of the men's adult 800-meter, 2 wheelchair events coming up next. After that, we are going to have 1 heat of the boys U11 800-meter event. Both of those athletes ran in the 60 earlier tonight, so to give them a little extra rest, the officials put them at the end of the 800s, and then we are going to kick off our first of quite a few 200-meter finals, and those races are going to go fast.
Yeah, those 200-meter sprints are going to be fast races all around from youngest to oldest, so I'm really excited to see all of those.
Jack Cunningham here really settled into his stride, and from the bird's eye view, you can see how long his stride is. Really pumping with his arms, getting a lot of power there, but taking advantage of that spring that he gets off of those running blades and stretching it out. Jack coming through at 1:08.10 for his first lap. He is in to his final sprint now, and you can see him pick it up, pumping with his arms, really putting a lot of power into that for the final sprint into the finish here. Casey Orndorff in second, but this will be Jack Cunningham first across the line overall, first in the T62 category for adults. National champion here at the Hartford Nationals, going home with a gold medal.
And also a big improvement on his C time from 2:17.70. He does a 2:09 here.
Almost a 10-second season PR for Jack Cunningham. And Casey Orndorff coming out of that final turn now, into that final turn now, with about 150 meters to go, staying strong, finishing strong, trying to make sure he stays loose for this last 150-meter sprint. And you can see him starting to pick up his speed a little bit, pumping his arms a little bit faster, putting in a little bit more power for that last 100 meters, crossing into the final stretch now with less than 100 to go. And this is all about holding on to speed. 1:36.29 was Casey's split time for his first lap, and he is now 20 meters away from the finish line. First place and national champion in the men's T38 800-meter event. Unofficial finishing time for Casey Orndorff, 3:20.71.
And moving on to section 2 of the mixed 20 and up 800-meter runs. In lane number 1, this is going to be Jonathan Osborne, a T34 athlete from the University of Michigan. In lane number 2 is Julius McManus, a T34 athlete from Team Warfighters. And in lane number 3 is going to be Reed Baranowski, a T34 athlete from Glassa.
All 3 of these athletes competing in the adult age group and in the same T34 classification. So 3 athletes out on the track racing for gold, silver, and bronze. First one across the line will be your 2026 national champion.
Julius McManus is coming in with a seed time of 2:27, and Jonathan Osborne not far behind with a 2:29.
Just heard the gun, and they are taking off. We have moved back to the traditional 800-meter start where athletes begin with that stagger and then can cut into lane 1 once they hit the brake line. And these three are pretty evenly matched coming out of this turn. This looks like Julius McManus just starting to pull ahead. Jonathan Osborne on the inside, staying pretty tight to him. Reed Baranowski, 200s. I was trying to count really quickly during the break. 23, 24, 25. Looks like we're going to have about 30 200-meter races tonight. So this race is a lot of fun because it is fast.
Yes, it's very fast, but it's not an all-out. It's not 100, so it's not the shortest race, but it's still pretty short. So it gives the athletes enough time to get up to speed, but then you also see them hold that speed through the last 100 meters.
So 200 meters is half of a lap around the track. And something interesting about track racing is that the finish line never moves. So the finish line is always in the same space, in the same place, but depending on the length of the race, the start line will move. So athletes racing the 200 will start over on the back side of the track, and they will still use this common finish, as it is known, as the finish line. It feels from where we are sitting right by the finish line that there is still a little bit of a tailwind coming into that finish. So we could be looking at some pretty fast times here, but you don't want too much of a tailwind because if you've got too much of a wind for the sprints, those could result in illegal times.
Yeah, so the wind legal amount is about 2 meters per second. Or 2 point, is it 2 or 2.7? 2.2? Yeah.
I think it's 2.2 meters per second.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do any sprints, so I never had to think about this. The shortest race that I ever did on the track was the 400 meter. And you don't get a wind-aided time if you have to do a full lap around the track.
Yeah, so wind only comes into play for the 100 and the 200, and it's somewhere around 2 or 2.2. So if you have too strong of a wind, then if you get a fast time, it's not going to count for records or anything.
Those would be considered wind-aided time. So it will still count for gold, silver, and bronze medals. But if the wind is too strong and you are getting pushed too much by the wind, unfortunately, even if you set a new national or international record, that will not be ratified. Last few athletes still out on the track setting their compensators. We've got just a couple of minutes until this first group of U17 T54 girls takes off.
Saw that. That's not right.
We will be back with you in just a moment for the start of the girls U17 T54 200 meter prelims. The track is closed, so all of the athletes out there finishing up their compensator setting need to pull off of the track, and we can get ready to introduce our first of two heats of the girls U17 T54 200 meter event.
Yeah, onto the 200 meters here. The girls U17, again, this is a T54, and we are going to have two heats of prelims. The top three from each heat and the next two fastest times will advance to finals. So in the first prelim heat, lane number 2, this is going to be McKenna Barnes from DASA. She comes in with a time of 59.93. In lane number 3, this is Layla Welch from Rolling Thunder. She comes in with a time of 48.58. In lane 4, this is going to be Eden Helsher. She comes in with a time of 43.25, and she is from the Louisville Lightning team. In lane number 5, this is Raylan Lemons. She comes in with a time of 46.68, and rounding out the field, in lane 6 is Harper Johnson from Louisville Lightning, and she comes in with a seed time of 57.3.
So the first 3 racers across the line in this heat will automatically move on to the final at the end of the evening. Thanks so much for joining us here for the live stream at the 2026, the Hartford Nationals, conducted by Move United. This is the 70th anniversary of Move United, the oldest adaptive sports organization in the country. If you want to learn more about the chapters, the sports, what Move United can offer, visit their website at moveunitedsport.org or follow them on social media at Move United Sport. The Move United team will be checking hashtags for the Hartford Nationals. Champions compete here, Move United, and adaptive sports. So if you snap any photos of the action throughout the week, be sure to tag Move United, use their hashtag so that they can see your photos and share them.
Yeah, and lots of sports being contested here too. It's not just track and field, but there's also archery, bocce, para powerlifting, triathlon, aquathon, shooting, swimming, and then also wheelchair tennis. So lots of sports being contested here throughout the week.
So many things going on, and this is just the beginning. We will be out here until Thursday at Calvin University and at different venues across the Grand Rapids area, getting a view right now of some of the other things going on. We've got some shot put happening on the infield over at the throwing pits. We don't get to see the field events too often on the live stream, so always fun when we catch some action over at the pits. So athletes competing here in track and field. Our final track and field session will be tomorrow morning, but just the beginning. So more sports still to come, with shooting and archery, rounding out the week with swimming. Taking a moment to get all of the athletes set and getting a chance to watch a second shot put attempt here on the infield. Ambulatory shot put thrower, really launching it. And one of the amazing things about this event is that the schedule is planned out very carefully. So athletes who are interested in competing in more than one different sport have the ability to do so throughout the week. None of the events overlap with each other. So if you are competing in swimming and also track and field and want to try some other things, you are able to do more than just one event. We'll take a minute while we are waiting for the 200 meters to start to thank some of our sponsors here, including the West Michigan Sports Commission and Mary Freebed, 2 major sponsors that have helped bring us to Grand Rapids for our second year, as well as our presenting sponsor, the Hartford. But without all of these sponsors, an event like this would not be possible. So huge thanks to Experience Grand Rapids, the Challenged Athletes Foundation, NovaCare Rehabilitation, Serve You Success, Meyer, the CDV Foundation, the Daniel and Pamela DeVos Foundation.
Yeah, LMCU, the YMCA, Hanger Clinic, Pepsi and Gatorade and Eagle Sports Chairs, Permobile Foundation, Wright and Philippi's, Michigan Able, Top End, Nordike's Business Equipment, Fence Consultants of West Michigan, Ano Caption, Permobile Foundation, Alina, Fairlife, Cliff Bars, and the Department of War.
In addition to all of our sponsors, the hundreds of volunteers who have come out to help make this event possible, the entire Move United staff, which is a small but mighty team putting on this event, and the 100+ national leads that come in from all around the country. This is officials and classifiers and specialists from different areas that come in every year to help make this event a success for all of the athletes here competing.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of Move United's member organizations. They have over 250 across the country in 45 states, and the District of Columbia too. So if you're looking for just a way to get started, there's plenty of opportunities out there.
Definitely recommend taking a look at the moveunitedsport.org website, as I mentioned a few moments ago. And that is where you will find all the information about the different sports that are available, programs that may exist in your area, and just resources and information about the adaptive sports world if you're interested in learning more about the opportunities that exist. Our first group is taking to the track now on their way to the start line.
Yeah, so again, this is going to be 2 heats. It's the girls U17 200 meter prelims. The top 3 from each heat plus the next 2 fastest times will advance to a final race at the end of the night tonight. In the first prelim, in lane number 2, this is going to be McKenna Barnes from DASA. In lane 3 is Layla Welch from Rolling Thunder. In lane 4 is Eden Helscher from Louisville Lightning. In lane number 5 is Raylan Lemons from Thunder Adaptive Sports. In lane 7 is Harper Johnson from Louisville Lightning. And it looks like we have an addition to this heat. In lane number 8 is Brooklyn Gossard from Parasport Spokane.
Heat 1 of 2 of the girls 200 meter event.
I'm actually looking at the live results right now, and it looks like we might have had a couple of scratches. So it looks like we'll be running one heat just as a straight final. So lane 1 will be McKenna Barnes. Lane 2 will be Ella Willis from Louisville Lightning. Lane 3 is going to be Sabrina Mercurio from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. Lane 4 is going to be Eden Helscher. Lane 5, Abigail Harvey. Lane 6, Raylan Lemons. Lane 7 is Harper Johnson. And then lane 8 is Brooklyn Gossard from Parasport Spokane.
We're taking a look here at the screen. We've got 6 athletes out on the track. So wondering if maybe our updated start list is incorrect. Still showing 1 of 2. Eden Helscher in lane 5. And Brooklyn Gossard. Sorry about this. Following the action here, not sure whether we are going to have 1 heat or 2 here. Looks like there were some adjustments during the break. But coming up into the finals here of this event, running live, I am seeing McKenna Raylan Lemons coming across first at 39.93. Eden Helscher in second at 40.42. Layla Welch in third at 47.03. This will be the first of 2 heats. Those top 3 finishers, automatic qualifiers. Sorry for the confusion as we took a look at some adjustments and adds and additions. We are moving on right now to the second of 2 heats. And it looks like we will have 4 in this group.
Yeah, so it looks like we're back on schedule now with Brooklyn Gossard in lane 3 from Parasport Spokane. Lane 4, Abigail Harvey as an independent athlete. Lane 5, Sabrina Mercurio from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. And lane 6, Ella Willis for Louisville Lightning.
And they are off. Brooklyn Gossard in lane 3 with a quick start first off the line, and looks like she will be first out of the turn as well. This is Brooklyn Gossard, who we have seen race 3 events so far and come home with 3 gold medals. And she is first out of the turn, hitting her compensator well into that final finishing stretch, not slowing down at all. You can see how quickly her hands are moving, getting a lot of speed and power here. And that will be Brooklyn Gossard, first finisher in this heat 2 of 2, automatic qualifier to the final. Second across the line, that will be lane 5, Sabrina Mercurio at 44.50, and Abigail Harvey crossing third at 50.18. Those 3 are your automatic qualifiers to the final later this evening in the girls U17 T54 200-meter dash.
So we'll be moving on to the U17 boys T54 prelims. Again, we'll have 2 heats, and the top 3 from each heat plus the next 2 fastest from all athletes will move on to the final. In the first heat, in lane 1 will be Max Rotes from the Rochester Rookies. In lane 2 will be Carmelo Dawson from Glassa. In lane 3 will be Colton Pajeda from Grit, Michigan. In lane 4, Mason Berry from DPPS. In lane 5, Francis McCabe from the Las Vegas. In lane 6, Joshua Leitner from HSC Cruisers. And lane 7, Nathan Kustra competing as an independent athlete.
And this is Mason Berry off to the early lead, coming around that first turn, really pulling ahead of the pack. He was first off the line, putting in a lot of power, getting a really, really good start. And Mason Berry on his own coming in will be the first finisher of this first heat of 2. Automatic qualifier for this evening's final. Second finisher across the line will be Francis McCabe, moving on to the final this evening. And Francis is followed by Joshua Leidner at 3:39.99. Those are your top 3 finishers for the first heat. They will move on to the final this evening. The next 2 will have to wait and see whether they can get in on time or not.
Moving on to the second heat of the prelims for the boys U17 200 T54 category. Lane number 2 is going to be Matthew Ward from the Michigan Grit program. Lane 3, Owen Stewart from Bennett Blazers. Lane 4, TJ Mosley from Texas Parasport. In lane 5, Isaac Murdoch competing as an independent athlete. In lane 6, Alex Gullingsrud from the Rolling Thunder. And in lane 7, Asher Loera competing as an independent athlete.
Expecting some fast speeds here as well. TJ Mosley in lane 4, who we've seen a lot from earlier today, coming in with the fastest seed time in this group, second fastest overall at 33.81, and expecting to see a really fast start from TJ as well.
Looking for a close finish for that third automatic qualifying spot too. Owen Stewart with a 40.97 and Alex Gullingsrud with a 43.74 coming in.
And this is TJ Mosley, fastest qualifying time coming in, pulling away first off the line, and will be first in to the finish. TJ Mosley in lane 4 will be our first qualifier from this second group. Second across the line will be lane 3, Owen Stewart, followed by Isaac Murdoch in lane 5. Those are our top 3 automatic qualifiers. TJ at 32.43, Owen at 35.89, Isaac at 38.03. The next 2 will be coming in on time. So top 3, next 2 fastest times from both heats combined.
So moving on to our next set of prelims, this is the girls U20 200 meter for the T54 category. Again, it'll be 2 heats, and it'll be the top 3 from each heat and the next 2 fastest times advancing to the final. In heat number 1, lane 2 is Amy Zyber from Michigan Grit. Lane 3 is Isabel Einwich from Wichita Adaptive Sports. Lane 4 is Adalia Borgmeyer from Rolling Thunder. Lane 5, Madeline Wilson from the New Jersey Navigators. In lane 6, Renee Horvath from Dairyland Sports. And in lane 7, Jay Coleman from Dairyland Sports.
And Addie Borgmeyer in lane 4, one of your former teammates, coming in with the fastest seed time here by quite a bit. She's going to be the one to watch.
Yeah, Addie coming in with a 31.72. Nobody else is under 43 seconds. So she should have a top 3 spot locked up, but we'll see. Anything can happen.
Anything could happen. Looks like the athletes are taking one quick lap before coming around to the start line. So we've got just a little bit of extra time here. This is a really long day for a lot of these athletes. We're likely to keep going, probably for at least another hour.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a lot of events. They've been out in the sun all day. There's more competition tomorrow. What is the game plan for tonight? How do you rest and recover?
Yeah, a lot of these athletes have been racing all day. They had the 400 and the 1500 this morning. There was an 800 medley relay this morning. And some of these athletes have had prelims and finals, so they're doing twice as much racing. So it's going to be really key tonight to get back to the hotel, get some good supper in, and then get to bed. Because it's going to be an early morning tomorrow.
Peyton, I know you said you weren't great when you were an athlete about making sure you were eating during the day, but what would you have for dinner when you would get home after a long day of racing like this to help prep for the next day?
I think you'd probably want to get a little bit of carbs in you. Not too much because you don't want to be super tired for tomorrow, but you definitely need some to replenish that energy that you spent from the racing today.
Absolutely, and lots of energy being spent on the track right now. This is Addie Borgmeyer in lane 4. Fastest seed time coming in with 31.72, off to a pretty dominant lead. Well into that final 100 meter, getting really good lift, really good speed and power off of the rings there. And Addie Borgmeyer will be our first automatic qualifier in this girls U20 age group. Lane 5, Madeline Wilson will be the second automatic qualifier, crossing the line second. And Jay Coleman, crossing third, will be our third automatic qualifier, moving on to the finals this evening.
Addie Borgmeyer did a 31.80 was her unofficial time, and her time coming in was a 31.72. So it looks like she was going pretty hard for that prelim. So kind of curious to see what she'll have left for the final tonight.
Pretty hard, pretty consistent times for Addie. Madeline Wilson crossing at 37.22. Jay Coleman crossing at 41.08. Izzy Einwich fourth at 41.24. Renee Horvath fifth at 46.02. And then Amy Cyber rounding out this first group at 1:26.07. And moving on to our second of 2 heats in this prelim.
Yeah, this second heat of the girls U2200 meter T54 prelim. Lane number 2 is going to be Julia Gonzalez. Lane 3, Mia Balela. Lane 4, Autumn Fott. Lane 5, Willow Weidenheimer. And lane 6, Peyton Moss.
Autumn Fott in lane 4, coming in with the fastest seed time here, 33.46, and off to a dominant start here as well. First out of that first turn, leading the field with a very solid gap. It's going to be tight for the second and third automatic qualifiers behind her, but Autumn Fott is moving on to the finals. And we talked about that strategic decision of laying off the gas a little bit. We just saw it.
Yeah, we just saw Autumn the last 20 or 30 meters or so. She really dialed back her stroke and stopped pushing a little bit.
Very confident that Autumn was moving on, so made a strategic decision to save a little bit extra for this evening. Autumn at 32.94, Mia, second automatic qualifier, at 40.91, and Willow Weidenheimer coming across third at 41.29. Those three automatically moving on to this evening's 200-meter final at the end of the session.
Moving on to our next 200-meter events, we are going to have one heat of frame runners here. In lane number 1 is Skylar Trambles. In lane 3 is Jody Putman from the Lakeshore Foundation. In lane 5 is Andrew Delenti from New Jersey Navigators. And in lane 7 is Violet Worthen from Dreamplex Parasport.
Frame running, one of the newer Paralympic events, and one of the newer sports in the adaptive sports world overall. Athletes who use frame runners. It is a specialized piece of equipment. It looks a little bit like a bike with a bicycle seat on it and handlebars, but instead of using pedals, athletes actually run. And so it's great for individuals who maybe are not quite stable enough to run unaided and need a little bit of extra support, but are still a better candidate to run than they are to use a racing chair. So it's been fun watching this sport begin to grow over the past couple of years, but we have a huge variety of different ages within this group.
Yeah, ages all the way from 7 up to 30s, I would say, competing just in the track events.
And in this heat in particular, we have Violet Worthen, who is going to be our youngest at 8 years old, and Jody Putman in lane 3, who is racing in the adult division at age 25. So this is a mix of T71 and 72, the two classifications for frame running, and every age group that we have here this week. Jody Putman off with a very fast start there, but getting a little bit of a challenge from Skylar Trambles on the inside. And this is Skylar Trambles pulling ahead and taking the lead. Jody Putman in second overall. Andrew Delenti in lane 5. Coming around the top of the turn right now, and Skylar Trambles out of the turn into that final 100-meter. Jody Putman trying to chase Skylar down, but Skylar's got too much speed going here. So all of these athletes in different age groups, so they are competing against themselves for time, but Skylar Trambles is going to be our first finisher overall in this mixed classification, mixed age group frame runner heat. Skylar Trambles, followed by Jody Putman. Skylar's finishing time 53:54, a huge PR over his seed time of 1:08:20. Jody Putman coming in at 1:01:09, another huge PR. Andrew Delenti at 1:06:83, and one of the youngest athletes we have competing here at the Hartford Nationals, Violet Worthen. We've seen her race the 20 and the 60 and the 400 already. Still out on the track and making her way around to the finish.
Yeah, and as he's mentioned, Violet, only 8 years old, just goes to show that no age is too young to get started in adaptive sports. So,
and such a cool opportunity for Skylar to get out on the track with other frame running athletes using the same equipment that she is using. It's so cool to have an older athlete, someone with a little bit more experience to look up to. Those role models are so important.
Yeah, role models are definitely a major part of growing up as a young kid in adaptive sports.
And this is Violet Worthen with her very cool Mohawk helmet coming in across the finish line right now. Our final finisher in this mixed frame runner event, but the first finisher in her T71 U11 age group category.
So we will be moving on to the girls under 11 200 meter. We're going to have two heats of this. Heat 1 is Brylan Blaschke, lane 3, and lane 4 is Aishla Lelia, and lane 5 is Ava Johnson.
Off to a strong start here. Coming in lane 3, this is Brylan Blaschke. followed closely. This is a tight group all together. Different classifications, T35, 36, 37. So all of these athletes are competing against themselves. But this is tight between Breland Blaschke and Ava Johnson. Neck and neck up to the finish, almost to the line here. Ava Johnson putting on that final finishing kick and pulling ahead. This is going to be Ava Johnson first across the line, first in her category, followed closely by Breland Blaschke and Aislia Lalia in third, first in her category as well.
And Ava Johnson, only 7 years old, younger than Violet, who we just saw in the last heat.
53.69 unofficial for Ava Johnson, 54.70 for Breland, and 57.31 for Aislia Lalia in lane 4.
Moving to our second heat, this is a T54 heat. In lane 4 is Penelope Webster. In lane 5, Annabelle Brennan. And lane 6, Samaya Khalid.
All three of these athletes in the same division, same T54 category. Athletes racing in the T54 division use racing chairs and have an impairment that affects their lower body only. So they have really good core and trunk strength. And you can see that by how much movement we're seeing from Annabelle Brennan in lane 5 here. And this is tight between Annabelle Brennan and Penelope Webster on the inside. Penelope Webster turning on that final sprint here. Annabelle Brennan attempting to hold her off and pulling ahead just a little bit, saved enough for that final finish. And this is going to be gold to Annabelle Brennan, silver to Penelope Webster, bronze to Samaya Khalid in lane 6.
Yeah, we're starting to move a little bit quicker here. So in the next heat is going to be the boys U11 200 meter. The first heat will be a mixed classification. Lane 2 is John White. Lane 3, Ward Goldsmith. Lane 4, Harris Krug. Lane 5, Andy Backner. And lane 6, Callum Zauner.
This will be a mixed classification ambulatory event. Andy Backner in the T64 category. He will be the athlete in lane 5, running with a lower limb prosthetic and a running blade. The rest of the athletes, a mix of the T36, 37, and 38 categories.
So Harris Krug in lane 4 comes in with the fastest C time, 41.88. But as you mentioned, this is a mixed category classification, so times really don't matter here.
And we saw quite a battle between Harris Krug and Andy Backner in the 800 meters just a few minutes ago. Andy Backner playing it really smart and waiting for that final attack, but he is not waiting in this event. That is Andy Backner in lane 5, off to the early lead here. Mixed classification event, so not all of these athletes are competing against each other, but Andy Backner looks like he will be first across the line here, making his way down the final finishing straight. Lane 3, that is Ward Goldsmith, coming in second overall. Harris Krug, third overall. Lane 2, that is John White. And Callum Zauner in lane 6. Unofficial finishing time here for Andy Backner, 40.26. Ward Goldsmith coming through at 44.19, just ahead of Harris Krug at 45.67. Those are your top 3 finishers in this mixed classification heat.
So heat number 2 of the boys U11 200. This is going to be Callan Moe in lane 3. He's a T53 athlete from Glassa. Lane 4 is William Pelletier from Texas Parasport. He's a T34. And lane 5 is Jensen Russo, a T54 athlete from Glassa.
3 different classifications of wheelchair racers here, so everyone racing against themselves. Jensen Russo in lane 5, off to the early lead. He is in that T54 category. Kellen Moe in lane 3, athletes who compete in the T53 classification have an impairment that affects some of their core and trunk strength as well. And William Pelletier in lane 4, pulling ahead here, is the only representative of the T34 classification, and athletes in that category are a part of the balance and coordination impairment and are affected in all 4 limbs. Really good hand speed here from William all the way across the line. He waited to turn it on till the final stretch, and he will be first across the line, first in his division at 52.88. Second across the line will be Callum Moe at 58.76. Jensen Russo at 1 minute 83, coming in third. Overall, first in his division.
Moving on to the girls U14 200, we're going to have 4 heats of this, all mixed classifications. In lane 2 of heat number 1 is Anna Downs from DASA. Lane 3, Eliza Cole from Bennett Blazers. Lane 4, Lydia Higgs from Texas Parasport. In lane 5, Mason Kronmuller from Pennsylvania Center for Adaptive Sports. And in lane 6, Joanna Uten from Texas Parasport.
A mix of athletes in the 30s classification here. We've seen quite a few of these athletes run already today. Some really impressive performances from Lydia Higgs out of Texas in the T37 category, and she's coming into this with the fastest seed time as well.
Yeah, Lydia Higgs coming in with a seed time of 32.53. Mason Kronmuller coming in with the second fastest time with a 39.82. And then Eliza Cole with the third fastest seed time at 43.19.
Lydia Higgs, one to watch here, coming off the line very quick. Mason Kronmuller just behind, but Lydia Higgs now getting up to speed, and you can see her stretching that stride out. Inside Lydia Higgs, that is Eliza Cole, also in the T37 category, and Mason Kronmuller just behind Eliza in the T38 classification. But this looks like it is going to be Lydia Higgs straight through to the finish. Great strength and power, pumping with her arms the whole way. Lydia Higgs coming in at 32.17. First overall, first in her category. Eliza Cole, second overall with a silver medal in the T37 classification, 38.53. Mason Kronmuller, third overall and first in her classification at 40.82. 2 athletes still out on the track. That is Anna Downs in lane 2. And coming up to the finish in lane 6 in the T36 classification, Joanna Uten, also out of Texas Parasport. So Joanna, 4th overall and first for her category. And Anna Downs coming home with gold in the women's U14 200 meter dash for the T35 classification.
Moving on to section 2 of the girls U14 200 meters. This is another mixed classification. In lane 3 is Whitley White, a T43 athlete, comes in with a time of 1:04. Lane 4 is Hayden Fletcher, a T64 athlete, who comes in with a time of 34.1. And in lane 5 is Angela Saul, a T63 athlete from Glassa, who comes in with a time of 1:10.70.
And all of the athletes here are competing in the 40 and 60s categories. Those are for athletes who have limb differences. So athletes in the T43 category are affected in 2 of their legs below the knee only. The 64 category is a single below knee amputation running with 1 running blade, and the 63 category is above the knee running with 1 running blade. This is Hayden Fletcher in the center, taking off really strong and powerful here. Hayden Fletcher in the T64 category, also coming in with the fastest seed time in this grouping by quite a bit. 34.10 for Hayden coming in as the season's best. Crowd is going absolutely wild behind us as Hayden comes across the line. We will wait to see if she has bettered her seed time, and she has, unofficially. 32.37 across the line for Hayden Fletcher. And this is neck and neck for our other 2 competitors out on the track. Whitley White in the inside and Angela Saul in lane 5, trying to turn on that sprint and reel Whitley in. The crowd is still going crazy, but it's going to be Whitley across the line first at 1:01.67, followed closely by Angela Saul at 1:02.80.
Moving to section 3 of the girls U14 200. In lane 4, this is going to be Divya Harkema, a T33 athlete from Michigan Grit, and lane 5 is Evelyn Peltier, a T34 athlete from Texas Parasport. So another mixed classification. Evelyn Peltier in lane 5 comes in with a 1:04 seed time, and Divya Harkema comes in with a 1:09.
And athletes in the 30s category are the only ones on the track who can compete both standing and in racing chairs. So T33 and 34, the lowest classification, so the most severely impacted by their impairment, use racing chairs to race, and then T35s, 36, 37s, and 38s run ambulatory. And that was the gun. They are off. Divya Harkema in the inside, representing the T33s, and Evelyn Peltier in the outside lane in lane 5, representing the T34s, and both of them coming in pretty close together with seed times here.
Yeah, Evelyn comes in with a 1:04.50 and Divya with a 1:09.20. So even though they're competing separately, they're still pretty close in times.
And Evelyn off to a really strong start here. Opened up that gap pretty quickly, coming out of the first turn right now. She's going to hit her compensator, and that's how you know she is on to the final straight. 100 meters left to go here for Evelyn. Divya Harkema now hitting her compensator as well into the final stretch, but this is going to be Evelyn Peltier coming up into the finish right now, all on her own. She will be the first finisher in this heat, and she will be national champion in the girls U14 T34 200 meter. Divya Harkema making her way up the final straight now. The only competitor in this heat in the T33 classification. She will be second across the line overall and first in the T33 category.
Moving to the final heat of the girls U14. This will be an all T54 heat. In lane number 1 is Emma 6 from DASA. Lane 2, Amelia Gwynn from Texas Parasport. Lane 3, Dakota Nesbitt from Bennett Blazers. Lane 4, Claire Lachaume from Rochester Rookies. Lane 5, Evelyn Grace Williams from Louisville Lightning. Lane 6, Alexa Landers from Bennett Blazers. And lane 7, Eliza Wilder from Lakeshore Foundation.
And this is Claire Lachaume in the Rochester Rockies red, off to an early start. We've seen some really great performances from Claire so far today, and this is continuing into the final straight now. Claire Lachaume in the lead, leading the pack. It's going to be a race for second and third behind her, but Claire Lachaume is the national champion in the girls U14 200 meter event for the T54 classification. Waiting on final finishing times for our top 3 here. Claire Lachaume coming across, representing the Rochester Rookies, 35-37. Dakota Nesbitt gets silver at 43.85. And Evelyn Grace Williams from the Louisville Lightning rounding out the podium at 44.73 for the top 3 finishers.
Moving over to the boys competition in the U14 category, we have a T54 and T53 mix in this first heat. In lane 2 is Malcolm McIntyre. He's the 53 athlete. In lane 3 is William Sawyer. Lane 4, Noah Fansler. Lane 5, Austin Evans. And lane 6, Braden Froning.
Looking at seed times, who do you have your eye on for this one, Peyton?
I'm looking at Noah Fansler. We've seen him race a couple times already this morning and this evening. He comes in with 38-34.
And this is Noah Fansler off to a very strong, quick start here. Lots of good sprint speed from Noah Fansler, and getting up to speed is one of the biggest challenges in wheelchair racing. Noah followed by Austin Evans on the outside here in yellow. Austin just behind, coming into the straight now, but this is going to be Noah Fansler on his own, Coming in to the finish of the boys U14 200-meter dash in the T54 category, Noah Fansler will be national champion here at the Hartford Nationals. Finishing time for Noah, 36:84. Austin Evans from the Columbus Adaptive Sports Club coming in second at 41:28. And Malcolm McIntyre, the sole member of the T53 classification, third overall, first in his group. So that means William Sawyer picks up the bronze at 48:23.
Another strong race from Noah Fansler, bettering his season best time by a second and a half to win another national championship. Moving on to Section 2 of the boys U14. This will be another mixed classification event. In lane number 1 is Ryle Feng from Texas Parasport. Lane 2 is Charlie Stevens. Lane 3, Jamison Tyrell. Lane 4, Landon Healy. Lane 5, Carson Carney. Lane 6, Thomas Zaborowski. And Lane 7, Jedediah Jefferson.
Pretty big mix of classifications here, but we do have 3 athletes racing in the T37 classification. So 3 athletes there, 3 medals, a gold, silver, and bronze. We've got Charlie Steffens in 2, Jamison Terrell in 3, and Carson Carney in 5, all racing against each other. Really strong start from Jamison Terrell here, coming in with a seed time of 48 seconds flat. Landon Healy just to his outside, looking to be the second overall finisher in this heat. And in lane 3, Charlie Steffens coming in with a seed time of 53:01 in third. But this is going to be first across the line. In lane 4, Landon Healy. Lane 5, Carson Carney crossing second. Landon Healy at 37:35, Carson Carney at 42:87, Jamison Terrell at 46:31, Charlie Steffens at 50:28, finishing 4th overall. We've got Thomas Zaborowski finishing 5th in the heat at 51:10, Jedediah Jefferson at 60:55, and Ryle Feng at 68:42.
Moving back to the girls competition, up to the U17 category. In lane number 2 of the heat 1 will be Samantha Vacha. In lane 3, Ayla Duncan. Lane 4, Kirsten Brunson. Lane 5, Carmen Wilkie. And lane 6, Ellie Todd.
This will be all athletes who compete in the 60s category, meaning they run with lower limb prosthetics. The 4 inside lanes, 2, 3, 4, and 6, all 4 of those athletes, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all 4 of those athletes competing in the T64 classification. A single below knee amputation and 1 running blade. Ellie Todd in lane 6 competing in the T61 category, running with 2 running blades, a double above the knee amputation. So this is 4 athletes in the same classification, 3 medals on the line. And this looks like lane 3, Ayla Duncan out to the early lead. But Kirsten Brunson in lane 4 giving her a bit of a challenge here up to the finish. Kirsten Brunson closing up at the line. A little more of a finishing kick, and that was Kirsten Brunson overtaking Ayla Duncan just at the line for the gold medal in the girls U17 T64 200-meter event. 33:23 for Kirsten Brunson, 33:34 for Ayla Duncan. Samantha Vacha crossing 3rd at 34:99. Carmen Wilkie just off the podium, finishing 4th at 35:65. And Ellie Todd, the only athlete in the 61 category in this heat, finishing 1st in her division and going home with a gold medal as national champion.
Going to Heat 2 of the girls U17 200. In Lane 2 is Alexis West. In Lane 3, Olivia Thomas. Lane 4, Addison Freeburn. and lane 5, Zoe Emery.
A mix of classifications for this event as well, from T36, 37 to 38, and Addison Freeburn in lane 4, who is off to an early lead in the T47 category. Athletes in the 47 category have an impairment that affects one arm below the elbow, so you can see Addison Freeburn with a single arm limb difference here, coming across the line first in her category, first overall. Addison Freeburn 26:53 for her unofficial finishing time, and this is going to be a tight race between lanes 2 and 5. That is Alexis West in 2, but Zoe Emery is going to take it second overall, first in her division at 46:18. Alexis West third overall, first in her division, 47:83, and Olivia Thomas fourth overall, but first in her division, 51:36.
Moving to the third and final heat of the girls U17 200, lane 3, this is Rebecca DiGiorgio. Lane 5 is Stuthi Dev, and lane 7 is Nolani Spicer.
This is a mix of athletes using racing wheelchairs from T33 in the balance and coordination impairment category, T53 athletes that have an impairment that affects their trunk and lower body, and Rebecca DiGiorgio racing in that T90 category that is exclusive to Move United for athletes who are not classifiable under the traditional Paralympic system. But this looks like it is going to be Nolani Spicer in the outside in lane 7, coming across first. Great finish from Nolani there in lane 7. Rebecca DiGiorgio coming across next in lane 3. Stuthi Dev, third overall, but first in her division in lane 5. 45.70 for Nolani, 48.06 for Rebecca, 50.84 for Stuthi.
Moving back to the boys in the U17 category, we have 3 heats of them coming up. In heat number 1, this is a mixed classification heat. Lane number 1 is James Delenti. Lane 2, Landon Brown. Lane 3, Joshua Staus. Lane 4, River Hingos. Lane 5, Luke Wynn. Lane 6, Lincoln Beckner. Lane 7, Jackson Higgins. And lane 8, Bennett Miser.
Another packed mixed heat of athletes in the 30s category here. Most of them we've already seen run events earlier today, so they've got to be feeling some of that fatigue.
Yeah, a lot of these athletes getting towards the end of the first day after having done multiple races throughout the day.
Landon Brown in lane 2 is going to be one to watch here, coming in with the fastest seed time at 33:24. He's followed by lane 1, James Delenti, with a seed time of 35:84, and they are off. Early lead here from Jackson Higgins in lane 7, but that is Landon Brown in lane 2, closing the stagger quickly and pulling ahead coming out of that first turn. Jackson Higgins attempting to keep Landon Brown in his sights, but this is Landon Brown in the lead, followed by Jackson Higgins in 7, James Delenti in lane 1 in 3rd, and this is going to be tight between Landon and Jackson, but it's going to be Landon across the line first, Jackson Higgins second, and James Delenti third. That's 33:30 for Landon, 33:68 for Jackson, 37:36 for James. River Hingos crossing 4th overall at 39:16. Joshua Staus 5th at 41:80. Bennett Miser 6th in the group. Moving on to our next heat.
Heat number 2 of the boys U17 200, another mixed classification heat here. Lane number 3 is William Geffert. Lane 4, Chase Merriweather. Lane 5, Kenby Rogers. And lane 6, Carter Halloran.
We have some fast seed times here as well. All of these athletes in the 40 and 60 categories, which denote limb differences or amputations. But our fastest seed time coming in is going to be Chase Merriweather in lane 4.
It's going to be a close race for second as well. Kenby Rogers comes in with a 31.14 and William Geffert with a 32.69. But again, those two are in different classifications.
Kenby Rogers off the line first, but here comes Chase Merriweather closing that gap very quickly. Chase Merriweather on the inside and Chase Merriweather down on the track. This is Kenby Rogers in the outside. William Gephardt inside. Chase Merriweather waiting to see if he gets back up, but it looks like this is going to be Kenby Rogers first across the line and first in his division, followed closely by William Gephardt in lane 3. Carter Halloran in lane 6, coming up that final straight now. And Chase Merriweather still down on the track at the start of the straight, coming out of the turn after slipping. All of these athletes in their own classifications competing against themselves, but fastest time overall for this group, Kenby Rogers at 29:37. William Gephardt, 29.62. Medical heading out to the track right now to check on Chase Merriweather, help him up, make sure he is doing okay after that nasty spill he took coming out of the turn in the lead of this 200-meter event. The next group of wheelchair athletes out on the track doing a lap and heading back over to the start line to prep for their race.
And as they get set, this is the third and final heat of the boys U17 200s. As we mentioned, it's a wheelchair event. In lane 2 is Rowan Blackwelder. Lane 3 is Dylan Chalmers. Lane 4, Liam Ziegler. Lane 5, Vedant Mishra, and lane 6, Rishi Upadhyay.
Vedant Mishra in lane 5, the only T53 athlete in this heat, coming in with the fastest seed time at 49 seconds flat. But there, even though this is a mixed heat, we have 3 representatives from the T33 classification. Keep your eye on lane 2. Lane 3 and lane 6. That'll be Rowan, Dylan, and Rishi. Those 3 racing against each other for gold, silver, and bronze in this mixed classification wheelchair racing heat.
Dylan Chalmers coming in with a 57.48, the fastest seed time of those 3 athletes competing against each other. Rishi Upadhyay comes in with a 103, and Rowan Blackwelder comes in with a 120.
And they are off. Still pretty close together here at the start. No one making any huge moves to make up that stagger, but looks like this is Vedant Mishra pulling ahead right now in lane 5, putting a lot of power into that stroke just to Rowan's inside. That is Liam Ziegler in lane 4, Dylan Chalmers in the inside in lane 3. Vedant Mishra in lane 5, still in the lead here, followed very closely behind by Liam Ziegler to his inside, but Vedant Mishra beginning to pull ahead here. He will be first overall in this mixed 200-meter event, first in his classification, followed closely behind by Liam Ziegler. Waiting to see those unofficial finishing times. Vedant Mishra at 53.74. Liam Ziegler at 57.11. Rishi Upadhyay at 60.81 for third. Dylan Chalmers picking up the silver medal in his classification at 101.50. So gold to Rishi, silver to Dylan, and Rowan Blackwelder will get the bronze medal in the T33 U17 200-meter event.
Moving up to the U20 girls 200, the first of two sections. In lane number 2, this is Brooke Krauth from Courage Kenny Blizzards. Lane 3, Madison Haas. Lane 4, Violet Hall. Lane 5, Avery Weeks. Lane 6, Indigo Brewweiler. And lane 7, Molly Turner.
For anyone who is just joining us, we are coming to you live from the Hartford Nationals, conducted by Move United at Calvin University. We are at the Gainey Athletic Complex, and we are well into our events for the evening. We kicked things off tonight with the 60-meter dash. We had quite a few 800-meter events, and now we are well underway with about a dozen 200-meter races left. So if you are just joining us, there is still plenty of action to come tonight, and we will be back here again bright and early tomorrow for our final day of track racing at the 2026 the Hartford Nationals. In lane 4 here, this is Violet Hall, one of the breakout stars of last year's national championship. She's coming in with the fastest seed time at 25:47 and has a dominant lead over the rest of the field here. After Violet in lane 5, this will be Avery Weeks with the silver medal in the T47 U20 classification. Violet coming across at 26:29, Avery Weeks at 29:28. Madison Haas, the first athlete in the T37 category, at 34:20. Followed by Brooke Croft, silver medal for Brooke, 42:07. Indigo Brewweiler, the only T64 athlete, and Molly Turner getting bronze for the T37 U20 girls in the 200 meter.
And this second heat is already underway. In lane number 3 is Addison Omar. She is a T52 athlete from Texas Parasport. And lane 5 is Mary MacDonald, a T53 athlete from the HSC Cruisers.
Athletes racing in this 50s category use racing wheelchairs. The classifications go from T51 all the way up to T54. T51 athletes being the most impaired in all 4 limbs, affecting their ability to compete. Athletes in the T53 category have full use of their arms, but are impaired in their trunk and core as well. So this is Mary McDonald coming across the line first here, coming in with a seed time of 47:89, bettering that to 42:61 and a national championship. And Addison Omar in the T52 category, coming in with a seed time of 62:50 and breaking that 60-second barrier with a finishing time of 57 seconds.
Moving on to the second heat, or the first heat of the boys U20 200. We'll have 4 heats of this. In heat number 1, lane 3 is Ander Curram. Lane 4, Houston Crouch. Lane 5, Cooper Shane. Lane 6, Declan Barbazat. And lane 7, Cole Morlock.
Another mixed classification ambulatory event here. Athletes competing in the 35 and 36 category. Also, 1 athlete in lane 4, Houston Crouch, competing in the T20 classification. And T20 is the only classification for Paralympic track and field for athletes who have an intellectual impairment. All other impairment categories and classifications are for physical or visual impairments. So 3 athletes racing in this T35 category. Keep your eye on Ander in lane 3, Declan in lane 6, and Cole in lane 7. There will be 1 gold medal for those 3 athletes.
Cole Morlock in lane 7 comes in with the fastest seed time of those 3 with a 35:11, but Declan Barbazat has a 38:21, so those 2 will be pretty close to watch.
And our fastest time overall, likely to be the first one out of the turn, is going to be Houston Crouch in lane 4. Taking just a moment for the athletes to get out on the track. Great to see you. I'm Amanda McRory. In case you are just joining, this is my co-host for the weekend, Peyton Gunnarsson. And while we have some time in between, we had a pretty cool delivery. We've been talking a lot about wheelchair racing gloves. Do you want to show everyone how those work?
Yeah. So these are groove gloves that Paralympian Daniel Romanchuk uses, and they have a slot for your thumb to go in there, and then you wrap your pointer finger and middle finger in this little slot here, and then your ring finger and pinky finger go around the outside of that there, and then you'll see this little groove in here. So that's where the athletes who are willing hit their push rim, and then they lock the push rim into that little groove, and that's what allows them to get a good grip and then flick through the bottom of the push rim.
So unlike a traditional wheelchair where you would grab onto the wheels and push and let go, you actually kind of punch and glide across the wheels when you are using a racing chair. And not only are these Daniel Romanchuk's gloves, you can see this cool red, white, and blue pattern on them. These are the gloves that Daniel Romanchuk used when he won a gold medal in the 5,000 meter event at the Paris Paralympic Games. So that is pretty cool. Another cool thing about the gloves is how they're made.
Yeah, so these gloves are a plastic. I'm not sure what type of plastic, but they are actually 3D printed. So there's a really cool, I think Daniel maybe did these custom personally, but there's a couple different companies out there that will 3D print them for you, and then you can purchase them and have them shipped to you.
It's absolutely revolutionized the sport of wheelchair racing because it used to be very, very difficult to make gloves. A lot of athletes would mold them out of this kind of like malleable plastic that was kind of like using Play-Doh. And so making sure that they were symmetrical and they fit your hands was super difficult. And then the worst part about them was if they got too hot,
they would melt.
They would melt. And everyone's worst nightmare as a wheelchair racer is showing up to an event and your gloves just being a like liquid puddle inside of your bag.
That's never happened to me, luckily, but knock on wood.
I've never had a full melt, but I've had some partial melts in my time. But this has made making racing gloves and making them custom and trying new styles even easier and more attainable and accessible for so many people.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a break here as we get ready for our next heat of 200 meters. We're wrapping them up, heading into we're on our final page of heat sheets here. We've got about 10 races left. We are moving up in age. So we normally start with the youngest age divisions and then move up through teenagers and into adults. And so these races are getting faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, so we've got the boys U20 coming up next, and then we move into the women's 20 and up, and then the men's 20 and up. And then after those heats are the finals from the prelims that we had earlier this afternoon.
So we kicked off the 200s with 3 different divisions in the 54 classification that had more than 8 athletes racing for a single gold medal. So for those races, they ran as 2 separate prelims, and the top 3 finishers from each heat, as well as the next 2 fastest times, regardless of which heat they were in, will move on to race again for the final this evening. And for some of those athletes, this is their 5th or 6th race of the day.
Yeah. Lots of races, and this is only day 1. There's a lot more racing tomorrow morning. These athletes are going to have a lot to rest up for and a lot to prepare for tomorrow morning.
It's been such a beautiful day here. We have bright blue skies and sunshine, maybe a little bit warm, but it's been nice for us sitting underneath the shade at the tent here. If you're at the track, come say hi. We are just across from the finish line. You can wave to us, but looks like this heat has just gone off.
Yeah, again, this is Ander Curram, Houston Crouch, Cooper Shane, Declan Barbazat, and Cole Morlock again. So
And
looks like Houston Crouch here in lane 4, the T20 athlete, finishing strong there.
first across the line, only athlete in that T20 classification, but that is an unofficial time of 25:54 for Houston. That was Declan Barbazat coming across in lane 6. But we have Cooper Shane in lane 2, second overall with a 32:22. Cole Morlock, third overall at 33:49. Declan Barbazat crossing at 38:45.
Moving to heat number 2 of the boys U2200. Lane 4 is Jet Penny in the T38 category. Lane 5 is Mikhail Katunkin in the T40 category. And lane 6 is Alexander Bradley in the T41 category.
And they are off. This is Jet Penny coming up the inside right now in lane 4, coming in with the fastest seed time here. Mikhail Katunkin right behind him in lane 5. They're just about a second apart with seed time, so if Mikhail can turn it on for this final finish, he might be able to catch him, but it looks like this is Jet Penny pulling away here. The only representative of the T38 classification in this age group. He will be first across the line and national champion in his division. Mikhail Katunkin crossing next in the T40 category. And this is Alexander Bradley in the T41 classification. All three of these athletes racing against themselves and the clock and coming home with a national championship and a gold medal. Alexander Bradley finishing at 50:26, which is an improvement over his seed time of 53:76 coming into this event.
Going to heat number 3 of the boys U2200. Again, this is a mixed classification. Heat in lane number 3 is Owen Mordyke. Lane 4, Ramon Little. Lane 5, Cameron Briggs. And lane 6, Jordan Kiss.
Another mixed classification ambulatory event. All of the athletes in this heat are in the 60s or 40s classification, denoting either an upper or lower body limb difference. This is this is Cameron Bragg in lane 5 in the lead, followed closely by Jordan Kiss in lane 6. We have Ramon Little in lane 3, crossing 3rd overall. Cameron Bragg with an unofficial time of 25:50. Jordan Kiss at 27:68. Ramon Little at 29:12. And Owen Mordyke crossing at 33:80 unofficially.
Going to our 4th and final heat of the boys U2200 in lane number 1. This is Yetzel Pena from DPPS. In lane 2 is Michael McBride. Lane 3, Jeremiah Mangles. Lane 4, Owen Horsley. Lane 5, Joel Tapia. Lane 6, Hayden Compton. And lane 7, Cademan Briner.
This is a mixed classification group, but every athlete except for Jetzel Pena in lane 1 is racing for the T54 national championship in this age group. So Michael, Jeremiah, Owen, Joel, Hayden, and Cademan Briner. Lanes 2 through 7 are racing for 1 gold medal. Jetzel Pena, the sole representative of the T53 classification here. Jeremiah and Owen, definitely 2 to keep an eye on, coming in with the fastest seed times, just about 0.2 of a second apart at 31:87 and 32:01. And in lane 4, this is Owen Horsley with a pretty dominant lead. To his inside, Jeremiah Mangles trying to chase him down and close that gap, but Owen Horsley has too much distance on him. That's going to be Owen Horsley with gold, Jeremiah Mangles with silver, and Joel Tapia with third in this boys U20 T54 classification. Michael McBride crossing in lane 2 and getting ready to move on to our next event.
The next event is the women's 20 and up 200 meter dash. We will have 2 heats of this, and our first heat will be Elizabeth Wooler in lane 4 and Jordan McGuire in lane 5. Elizabeth Wooler in the T64 category comes in with a seed time of 33:20, and Jordan McGuire in the T36 category comes in with a seed time of 34:54.
Jordan and Elizabeth racing against themselves and the clock here, but coming in with pretty close seed times. We might see a pretty exciting finish for this one. The track and field officials here spend a lot of time putting these heat sheets together, trying to ensure that every athlete is in the best heat for them, whether it is age group or classification, making sure they have as much competition as possible, trying to help get those times even faster than they are already. But this is an official national championship, so all of the athletes competing here this weekend had to meet qualifying standards within their age group and classification for each event in order to be eligible to compete. And some of those some of those qualifying times for the classifications can be pretty tricky.
Yeah, so those qualification times really ensure that the athletes competing here are the best of the best in the country.
Oftentimes representing years of training for athletes to be able to compete at this level.
Yeah, like we've seen athletes all the way from 7 years old up to 40 years old with wealth of experience.
Both Elizabeth and Jordan competing in the adult division, one of the newer age groups of the Hartford Nationals, just introduced a few years ago to give more competition opportunities for athletes in the United States. So it's really exciting to see those categories begin to go. Previously, it was a junior level only competition, so athletes would age out after a certain period of time. But now you can continue competing as long as you want. And as long as you can reach your qualification times for your division.
Yeah, key point there.
Jordan McGuire and Elizabeth Waller, both out of the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association program. We had Amy Day on as one of our guests earlier this evening. Amy Day is a 2000 Paralympian, competed at the Sydney Paralympic Games, and she is the wheelchair racing coach for the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association. She was saying that they have over 20 different sports that they offer to athletes with disabilities in the Chicagoland area, which is incredibly impressive. The gun is up, and that was a false start from Elizabeth Waller in lane 4. Looked like she was having a little bit of a difficult time keeping her balance on the blocks, and we saw that slight tremble before the gun went off after the set was called. Once the starter says set, the athletes cannot make any movements at all until the gun goes off, or that will be a false start. So the officials recording the false start right now and going out to reset. Heading over to talk to Elizabeth and let her know that she is the athlete who was responsible for the false start, explaining what happened and why, getting that card that they are good to go.
Yeah, and you see the green card there. Even though she false started, one thing that's different about the rules at this event is that athletes get one chance to false start, but after that, if they false start again in this race, they will be done.
That is correct. At the international level, it is one false start is an automatic disqualification from the event. But Elizabeth Waller recovering very well from that little mistake at the start and pulling ahead here, coming around the turn. Just about a half a second ahead of Jordan McGuire on her qualifying time. Jordan McGuire out of the turn now as well. But this is going to be Elizabeth Waller in lane 4 coming up to the finish on her own. Jordan McGuire quite a few strides behind, trying to close in, but it's going to be Elizabeth Waller crossing first. Jordan McGuire coming across second overall and first in her category. So both of these athletes going home with a gold medal and a national championship from the Hartford Nationals.
Moving to the second heat of the women's 20 and up 200 meter dash. This will be a wheelchair heat, mixed classification again. In lane 2 is Abigail Sams. Lane 3, Lydia Yaks. Lane 4, Micaiah Green. Lane 5, Maria Valle. Lane 6, Logan Cover. And lane 7, Anna Kate Simmons. A mix of athletes across classifications here.
but all using racing chairs. Some representation from the 34s in Abigail Sams and Anna Kate Simmons. Micaiah Green, the only T53 athlete in this race. Logan Cover is a T54. And Lydia Yax racing as a T90. Fastest seed times coming in are pretty tight between Micaiah Green in lane 4 and Maria Valle in lane 5. Everyone set on the start, and there's a couple different strategies that wheelchair racers use to get off the line and get moving. Some athletes like to take a lot of quick, fast strokes. Some athletes like to do some longer strokes until they get up to speed. What was your strategy to get off the line, Peyton? Was it all hand speed or was it power?
It was a mix of both. The first 20-30 meters for me was crucial in getting quick pushes to get up to speed. But once I was up to speed, you want to get into those powerful pushes, extending the hands all the way through the push rim, and then getting the shoulders up and powering through the push rim.
And those long strokes, all of the athletes are now into that really long stroke. You can see a lot of good lift from Micaiah Green in lane 4 there as they are up to speed. So that's going to be Micaiah Green first across the line. And that looked like Abigail Sams crossing second, waiting to see those unofficial times. And that's Micaiah Green, 44.41. Abigail Sams, second overall, first in her division at 45.29. Lydia Yax going home with a gold medal, first in the T90 classification at 48.20. Logan Cover, fourth overall, 51.02. Maria Valle at 51.31. And Anna Kate Simmons at 1:17.94.
Moving over to the men's 20 and up 200 meter dash. This is the final event before the finals from the prelims earlier today. In heat number 1, lane number 1 will be Ben Maloney. Lane 2, Connor Pierce. Lane 3, Gavin Johnson. Lane 4, Jack Cunningham. Lane 5, Casey Orndorff. Lane 6, Rolf Morgan Sherman. Lane 7, Matt Sanders. And Lane 8, Megating Mina.
A whole mix of different classifications here. Every one of these athletes representing a different category with the exceptions of lane 1 and lane 8, who are both racing together in the T37 category. So we're going to see a lot of medals come out of this event. We've got some pretty fast seed times coming in as well.
Yeah, Jack Cunningham out of the lane 4 in the T62 category comes in with a 25.12. And then lane 3, Gavin Johnson, is not far behind with a 26.16.
So definitely keep your eye on lane 3 and lane 4 for this event. Likely to be our top 2 finishers overall. Connor Pierce in lane 2, the third fastest seed time coming in at 30 seconds flat. And the athletes taking just a moment to get set. You can see that there is a mix of athletes choosing to use blocks or not. That is optional at the Hartford Nationals. Whether athletes would like to start in blocks at the international level, that is required for some classifications. It is not here at the Hartford Nationals. And they are off. This is the first of 3 sections of the adult men's 200-meter dashes. All of the athletes here running in the ambulatory divisions in different classifications. And we have a pretty tight race between Jack Cunningham and Gavin Johnson. Jack Cunningham pulling ahead to take it at the end. Gavin Johnson finishing second overall. And waiting for those unofficial finishing times to start rolling in for this event. Jack Cunningham, 23.84, bettering his incoming seed time by just about 2 seconds. Gavin Johnson finishing at 25.29. Connor Pierce at 31.31, third overall in the heat. Casey Orndorff at 33.28. Ralph Morgan Sherman, 5th overall at 34.04. 6th place finisher Matt Sanders at 34.64. Magiting Mina at 42.42. And Ben Maloney at 46. And our next event is already off.
Heat number 2 of the men's 200-meter dash. We've got a lot of great college representation in this heat. In lane number 2 is Alex Brown from the University of Alabama. Lane 3 is Charlie Rule from the University of Arizona. Lane 4, Jonathan Osborne from the University of Michigan. Lane 5, Reed Baranowski from Glassa. And lane 6 is an independent athlete, Mario Farfan Sr.
And that is Mario Farfan Sr. in lane 6, who will be first across the line overall, coming in with the fastest seed time here at 34 seconds flat, waiting to see if he has bettered that, and his unofficial finishing time is 36.39. Alex Brown crossing second overall at 38.68, and Jonathan Osborne rounding out the top 3 overall for this mixed classification heat at 39.31.
The third and final heat of the men's 200-meter dash, 20 and up division. Lane 2, Zachary Carter from the University of Alabama. Lane 3, Mark Braun from Rolling Thunder. Lane 4, Tyler Gunnarsson from Rolling Thunder. Lane 5, Micah Campbell. Lane 6, Zachary Holman. Lane 7, Delmas Mayo.
And they are off. Teammates Tyler Gunnarsson and Mark Braun coming in here with the fastest seed times. Do you have any predictions for this race, Peyton?
These two are also teammates of mine, so we will see. I think I should remain neutral so I don't get hurt at the hotel later tonight.
I think you are legally obligated to choose your brother. And that will be Mark Braun crossing the line first for gold, followed very closely by Tyler Gunnarsson for silver, and Delmas Mayo rounding out the top 3 and going home with the bronze in third. Mark Braun crossing at 28.17, Tyler Gunnarsson at 28.93. Delmas Mayo at 29.91. All 3 of those athletes under 30 seconds for that 200-meter race.
Moving to those finals from the 200 meters prelims earlier this afternoon. The first is the girls U17 final. In lane number 1 is Harper Johnson. Lane 2, Layla Welch. Lane 3, Eden Helscher. Lane 4, Brooklyn Gossard. Lane 5, Raylan Lemons. Lane 6, Sabrina Mercurio. Lane 7, Abigail Harvey. And Lane 8, McKenna Barnes.
Brooklyn Gossard coming in with the fastest seed time into the prelim, but also the fastest prelim time moving into the final tonight. These in-lane seeded events seed out from lane 4, so the center of the track is where you will normally find the fastest athletes with the quickest qualifying times coming in. So keep your eye on lanes 3, 4, and 5 here. Eden Holscher in 3, Brooklyn Gossard in 4, and Raylan Lemons in 5. We have a full heat of 8 athletes. All of these racers already ran a 200 earlier this evening to qualify for this final, and there are 3 medals on the line, gold, silver, and bronze for the first 3 across the line tonight.
Yeah, Brooklyn Gossard, the favorite out of lane 4 in Parasport Spokane. She's already won a couple national titles here today, and I'm sure she'll be looking to add another one here in the 200.
Brooklyn Gossard undefeated in her age group in every event she has run so far this weekend, which is a pretty impressive track record I have to say. And they are out on the start getting lined up. McKenna Barnes in lane 8 taking her place right now. And as soon as everyone is set, we will get ready for the starter in the gun. Brooklyn Gossard in lane 4 off to a pretty good start to her outside. Raylan Lemons challenging her a little bit, but Brooklyn Gossard already quickly making up that stagger. This is going to be Brooklyn Gossard in lane 4, Raylan Lemons in lane 5, and Eden Holscher in lane 3. Brooklyn Gossard first out of the turn here, hitting her compensator, less than 100 meters to go for Brooklyn Gossard. This is that style we have seen so many times today. She just looks so relaxed coming through the finish.
Her stroke is so pure and smooth. It just looks effortless.
So that is going to be Brooklyn Gossard with gold, national champion for the girls U17 T54 200 meter, crossing the line unofficially at 35.72. The silver medal goes to Raylan Lemons at 38.68. Bronze to Eden Holscher at 39.60. And that is your podium for the Hartford Nationals. Sabrina Mercurio in 4. And we are moving on to our next final. This will be the boys U17 T54 200 meter event.
In lane number 1, this is Alex Gullingsrud from Rolling Thunder. Lane 2 is Isaac Murdoch, an independent athlete. Lane 3 is Owen Stewart from Bennett Blazers. Lane 4, TJ Mosley is from Texas Parasport. Lane 5, Mason Berry from Dreamplex Parasport. Lane 6, Francis McCabe from Las Vegas Adaptive Rec. Lane 7 is Joshua Leidner from HSC Cruisers. And Lane 8, Nathan Kustra, an independent athlete.
TJ Mosley, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, TJ Mosley in lane number 4, the fastest qualifier from the prelims, is the favorite in this final.
Definitely keep an eye on TJ Mosley. Owen Stewart in 3, Mason Berry in 5. Likely to be our podium for this event. And that is TJ Mosley now making up that stagger on Mason Berry to his outside. TJ Mosley pulling ahead coming into the finish. This is going to be TJ Mosley, Mason Berry to his outside, trying to close that gap, but TJ Mosley is just too strong and too powerful coming into this finish. TJ Mosley crossing the line first for gold, followed closely by Mason Berry, and this was tight for third. Waiting to see those unofficial finishing times come through. TJ Mosley at 31.73. Mason Berry with silver at 32.91. Owen Stewart of the Bennett Blazers is going to round out our podium and take home the bronze at 35.62. And just missing the podium with that 4th place finish, Isaac Murdoch at 36.13.
And moving on to the final race of the evening, the girls U20 T54 final. Lane number 1 is Isabel Einwich. Lane 2, Jake Coleman. Lane 3, Madeline Wilson. Lane 4, Adalia Borgmeyer. Lane 5, Autumn Fott. Lane 6, Mia Balela. Lane 7, Willa Weidenhammer. And Lane 8, Julia Gonzalez.
And this is going to be another showdown between Addie Borgmeyer and Autumn Fott in lanes 4 and 5.
Yet another one between the two of them, and Addie comes in with the fastest time from the prelims. But you'll remember, Autumn Fott took a little off the gas at the end there.
She did. Autumn Fott coasting through the finish, very confident that she was going to have a spot in the final. And this off to an early lead here, breaking away from the pack already. Addie Borgmeyer in the inside in lane 4, Autumn Fott in lane 5. Autumn Fott off to the lead in the beginning, but Addie closing that gap and in the lead right now, looking to hold off Autumn Fott. Autumn Fott working to close, but this is going to be Addie Borgmeyer all the way to the finish with her first gold medal.
Adalia Borgmeyer with her first national title of the 2026 Hartford Nationals.
And what a race. Adalia Borgmeyer, 31-35, coming across the line first. Second place in a silver medal to Autumn Fought at 31.72. And bronze, Madeline Wilson at 37.30. And that is your podium for the girls T54 U20 200 meter event. That concludes our program of events for this evening. Peyton and I will be back with you first thing tomorrow morning for more action from the track here at Calvin University for the Hartford Nationals conducted by Move United.
Awesome. We'll see you tomorrow morning.